there's some good crap going on that you weren't paying any attention to, apparently.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, September 28th, 2014. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 656.
This is No Agenda.
Braving hours of mind-numbing C-SPAN footage so you don't have to. From FEMA Region 6 in the capital of the Drone Star State, Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I was watching all sorts of TV, not just C-SPAN, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
I've concluded that TV really blows.
And that's the end of our show.
It does. People watch it. Jeez.
I know. It really is pretty bad.
This season is particularly annoying.
Oh, you're not talking about just news.
I'm talking about the big time.
The big networks.
The big networks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, well, actually, I better say this for later in the show, but there's some pretty gruesome stuff on TV. There was a profanity and...
Ooh, profanity.
Well, I mean, you know, the kind of profanity they would fine you for. The F word, as a matter of fact, on network TV, ABC, of course, which is related to the White House, so they're not going to do anything to this guy. There's a show with this gay character who essentially, we see a graphic gay sex scene.
What show was this?
This was How to Get Away with Murder.
Okay.
And there's the guy goes in, this guy who's one of the, I guess, investigators for his kind of to be honest about it, I don't even know what this show's about.
Okay.
Whatever the case, it's some sort of a mystery detective, but there's no detective, and there's a team of people, and this one guy's gay, and he went to a gay bar to get some information about a case that somebody might know something about, and so he propositioned some gay IT guy. And the guy gives him the goods in more ways than one.
Wait a minute. Was it a dude named Ben?
No, it was a...
It's just a dude named Ben. Just a dude named Ben. Just a dude named Ben.
You know what's funny about that little song is that he actually sounds like the congressman.
Well... It's interesting you bring this up because we have been called to task, called to account, 3 separate instances of our own violation of community ethics and standards on this very program.
What community are we discussing here? The No Agenda family?
Well, I've received feedback from the No Agenda family, yes.
Okay.
I received exactly one, for what I believe to be a character role. You know, very often I'll pretend to be a Russian, which is one of my better ones.
Yeah, this is our kind of this is our entertainment part of the show where we do skits.
Yeah, it's a skit, and sometimes I can be a gay white guy, or I can be a over the top black woman.
I'd never heard any of these people.
Oh yeah, nigga, please. No, this is what I did. Nigga, please.
Oh yeah, you say that all the time.
And I got an email from one of our producers who was shocked that I did this.
Yeah, okay.
And Ben,
when you did it, I was shocked too.
Please.
But oh my!
Please.
What have we come to?
Yeah. And my response is always, well, no one complains when I make fun of Russians or the Dutch or here's what happens. You said the UK wants to get rid of the Pakis. Oh,
right.
No. I received very specific news from one of our Pakistani listeners who is also now on a $5 a month donation program. He said, that is racist. We say it to each other. That's okay. But you, sir, you may not say it.
Yeah, well, the reason it was said in the first place was as a self-referential, not to me, but from the perspective of a Pakistani in England. And you just like, it's like saying something. I'm not going to
justify your use.
No, I am going to justify my use. I think it was fine. Because it was indicative of what the Brits are thinking.
Yes, thank you.
And that's the way they think.
And also,
that's what they're up to. And that term works right into that sort of thinking. I don't think it's a good term. I would never use it, especially in England. I mean, here, nobody even knows what it means.
When I lived in London, British people would say that all the time around me. Not when there were Pakistanis around.
No, of course not.
No. And I want to point out, if you don't like a word, then you shouldn't be saying it amongst each other. You know, that's
what
just
is this code for the in crowd?
That's just rubbing it in my face. Oh, I can say Packies, you cannot say it. Ha ha ha. You know, it's like fag, queen, tranny, she-male. You know, I can go, the list goes on. Cripple. You know, you can't say all these things? Ugh, please. But no one seems to be outraged about our president killing people. And then the final one, which I found, which I received from a producer I've been getting a lot of good feedback from. We had Album Art 3 shows ago where we had the ISIL flag with, apparently it has Holy Quran scripture on it. We desecrated that by using Album Art with this holy scripture on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And this is considered sacrilegious.
Yeah, actually, that amongst the I can see that one. That's, I think, is a legitimate complaint.
I really didn't think about it at that point. I didn't like, oh well, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah,
and of course you
can put biblical verses on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and Christians don't get upset about it.
Well, what the producer said is, it's illegal for you to wear the American flag in America as clothing. I said, no, it's not.
That's not true.
Not true.
That used to be true in the 50s.
Yeah. But I think there is some regulation about disrespect, but you should be able to burn the flag.
Most of that has been eliminated by the Supreme Court. Right, you can burn the flag. It's freedom of speech.
Right. Well, let's see how long that lasts.
Well, it is freedom of speech.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you, but so anyway, so yes, so you don't get much of that anywhere else but here, and it is because
we're on the edge, man.
Yeah. Ow! I just cut myself on the edge, John. I'm gonna be very careful. We are on the edge, brother. That's right. Well, I feel I'm on the edge.
Well, we do listen to these complaints and we do act accordingly.
And I understand, and I do like to engage with people and say, okay, I understand you're shocked and outraged, but please give me the whole list of all the words you don't want me to use. And then I never get an answer to that. I say,
that's because the list is too long.
Yeah. So just get over it, people. Well, none of this comes from.
Not going to happen.
You're right. Forget about it. I'm sorry. I'm almost sorry I brought it up, but I have taken your advice.
Ooh.
Yeah. I tried that drinking tip you gave me, to combat loneliness. Man, that's
not really a tip.
Well,
combat loneliness. Just get plowed.
It also didn't work that well.
It probably make you morose.
Well, it was
so
kind of
lonely now, and I'm drunk.
It was kind of like landing a Cessna with giant cartoon pontoons. I'm just kind of like.
If you drank enough, you could fall asleep and not worry about it.
Yeah, it didn't really work. I don't know. But anyway, Miss Mickey coming back on Thursday. If she's still my wife, because
got in a quickie divorce there in Holland.
Yeah, this was quite cool.
An annulment.
Yeah. Well, it would have to be an annulment in the United States, where we were married. Our technical marriage is in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things I need to say about. So here's what happened, and I sent John this photo because I thought it was too hilarious.
In the newsletter.
Yeah.
So anyone who doesn't get the newsletter, you missed out on some good stuff.
There was a gossip magazine in the Netherlands, and the front page, full cover picture.
Yeah, you're famous in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and it's marriage is over.
Right.
After Adam and Mickey divorcing. And inside was even funnier, actually. Loosely translated. We were both in Amsterdam for my 50th birthday, but then there was a big blow up, and I left to go back to Austin. Mickey doesn't like America, so she's renting a place in Amsterdam, and it's over. Oh, and all the money's gone too, which is a super insult to Mickey.
What does that mean?
Well, here's the thing.
They hate you.
Somebody hates me. I think what's going on here. Of course, no one contacted me. No one contacted Mickey. But my ex-wife had no comment. Oh, okay. So, gee, where would this rumor be coming from?
Your ex-wife is quite a player when it comes to publicity and manipulating the media.
She's horrible.
Well, it depends on your point of view. You know, if you were running a PR agency, you'd want somebody like that working for you. That's for sure.
Hey, way to go, friend.
I was just saying, she really gets the job done.
And when the minute you saw the picture, you identified what I thought was pretty obvious.
I loved it, by the way.
My enemies hate me so much.
They photoshopped you.
So Mickey looks gorgeous, of course, in this picture, and it's from our. I think it's from before our bachelorette party when we were getting married.
No, she's one of the best looking pictures of her I've ever seen.
She was dynamite.
Yeah,
and I look like like I smell out of my mouth.
You look like Screwy McGeek.
Doesn't it look like I have bad breath in that picture?
Dork. It was hilarious when I saw it. I said, "Oh," and I knew what they did, so I did it myself.
This was the great thing about the newsletter. This is what I thought was, and it's relevant to what we do.
Yes.
Explain.
Well, what we do is we deconstruct. In other words, we reverse engineer what's going on in the news and the media. And so I did the same thing with that stupid picture of Adam, which I just think was precious. And I knew what they did because I'm a pretty adept at Photoshop, and it was the easiest thing you can do, and the simplest thing you can do, and the fastest thing you can do, which is use the Liquify tool. And so I took a picture of Joe Biden. I could have used another picture of Adam. In fact, I did one, but I just said it was too much. But I took a picture of Joe Biden, and with the Liquify tool, 6 strokes, took about 60 seconds. I shrunk his mouth, pulled his lower lip down, which was what they did to you. And then I also brought his eyes closer together and then kind of caved his head in, but that wasn't so noticeable. And presented it and it looks beautiful. But because the Liquify tool is such an easy
slick.
thing.
Yeah, it's very slick. It's very slick.
It doesn't do it. It just moves things around, and it stems from a Kai
Power
Klaus's old Goo program.
Yeah,
and
wasn't it the Power Tools or whatever that was?
I think Goo was a separate product.
Okay,
but it was in the Power Tools type, genre, and Adobe just dropped it in the program, and so you can. It's actually kind of hard to find where it is, but it's there. And you can do all kinds of cool things with it. You can move people's eyeballs around. You can make them look cross-eyed. But dropping the lower lip and then shrinking the mouth is really the key to making somebody look like a total dweeb.
I found it to so I don't get hurt by these things. It makes me laugh, but it's very. I'm sorry.
It'd be annoying. You must be annoyed.
It's insulting to Mickey. It's insulting. I think
insulting
the insulting
to the listeners to our show.
Well, it's also insulting to everyone's intelligence because if you think logically, we still have our 2-year interview coming up, I think, in March for her green card, where I have to report that, yes, we're still married, we love each other, and she's performing her spousal duties as expected. After that is when she can ditch me.
Yeah, she can't ditch you now, so this is bull crap.
It makes no sense.
She'll ditch you later.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, John. But time to drink. There we go. Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, so that was very funny. And thank you for saying, although Mickey, turns out, posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then you two got lovey-dovey. I thought it was kind of gross. You should have been, carving your names in a tree.
Oh, please. Well, do you know how many people call me or email me and say, hey, man, is everything okay? That's the part that you never think about. But that's so annoying.
That would be, yes, I understand that.
And family members, and so Mickey has all kinds of people.
He reads this crap in a rag called Party,
which has the smallest circulation. It is really, really low down on the totem pole. But what happens is you get these blogs And it propagates. So blogs copy it, and it gets better. Mickey's name changes from Hogendijk to Hogendoorn. I mean, it's so stupid. It's so obvious, and everything is wrong. Where we live, they say Houston instead of Austin. All these things.
Well, that's an insult.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stupid things like that. But really, when friends and family are like, is everything okay? Is everything? It's like, it's so annoying.
You should have some boilerplate.
It doesn't really work that way, because and sometimes you'll say it and people won't even believe you. Oh yeah, sure, man. All right.
Yeah,
and it's also fun to see who pops up.
Oh
Yeah,
old girlfriends.
Yeah, of course that's the first ones.
So I understand.
I didn't actually buy it, but I was shopping and I saw this and I thought, let me just check and see if you're okay. I could drop by if you need any.
Yeah,
it is just funny, man. But there was more on the love scene that happened in the past few days in Gitmo Nation, and this comes from, I have to say, one of my favorite shows on television today, and not just because it's humor, but also there is only one person, I believe, in the press corps who, by his investigative work alone, it can't really show up in his reporting because he worked for Associated Press, and it would all be hearsay and conjecture and one-sided, and there's no way to check it. But the guy who asks the right questions always is Matt Lee from AP. And he just is relentless, and he hounds these any spokeshole for the State Department, and that's really what is the most interesting, is what he's asking in the responses. It can't show up in reporting because it's just his word against whoever happens to be standing there. So watching it is very fun because you get a lot of context of how people are stumbling around the answers. And something beautiful happened. Of course, the best shows are when Matt Lee is in the press corps, and Marie Harf, our band camp girl, is at the podium. These are the most fun. And just the other day, we had once again another episode.
Well, Matt and Marie, they're talking sensibly. They're sitting in a tree. KISSING.
It's the Matt and Marie Show, starring Matt Lee. Also starring Marie Harf.
And we join our lovebirds in progress.
Today is thank you, the dean of our press corps. It's Matt Lee's birthday. So I wanted to start the briefing on a nice, positive, friendly note with some balloons. And he has to have them the whole time he asks questions today.
Some balloons.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
There's actually one that says the big 3-0. So just feel free to use that if people ask.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a great day, mainly because the Bills are staying in Buffalo. So that's the best
This guy doesn't know how to pick up chicks.
present so far.
Are those, do we have
I'll
something we
put
can
this right here.
tie them down with? Oh, good. Anyways, happy birthday.
Anyways, you gotta love a PR person who says anyways. Jeez.
Anyways, happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you very much.
I do not have anything at the top. The secretary is on his way to the region right now to continue working on building an anti-ISIL coalition, as we've talked about a lot. But besides that, nothing else at the top, except for Matt's birthday.
All right.
I may have gotten the tip from a few people that it was your birthday.
Okay. Well, you have good sources.
Mm-hmm. Not as good as you do, but...
Anyway, thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah. They can pretend all they want.
Not as
What?
as good. You say you had good sources, not as good as you have, or something. It was
So
awkward.
after the press conference, the crews are always standing around, and there's no video. I only have audio of it because I guess the sound guy kept running and the video wasn't running. They were standing outside Marie Harf's office door. All right.
Yeah.
onward to the real news.
Yes, we have some.
It seems to be quite a bit.
Well, let's start with the Holder quit.
Yeah, but I want to put one more thing in context of the Holder quit deal.
Yeah.
6 days ago, there's messaging going on, and we have talked about this before. I think you are the one that brought it up, and it may be related. 6 days ago, guy jumps the fence at the White House, but no one shoots him, no one tases him. The dogs are not released. The front door's open. He walks right in. He's got a knife.
Yeah, says hello.
The day after that, we start, bombing make-believe bullcrap. New ISIL / Al Qaeda groups in Syria. I think the president, this is one of these messages, like, we can get to you anytime we want, yo. So you got to do what we tell you to do.
Right, which is obviously we've pointed this out for years now, because remember the phony baloney couple that snuck into an event.
Yes,
or the translator, the phony the phony deaf guy.
That was good. Yeah,
that was great.
at the
phony guy up there doing signing
at the Mandela thing.
Yeah, and he's standing right next to the president.
So I think it is there is a shadow network of maybe we'll just call it the warmongers who want stuff to happen, and this was a message, and I'm thinking this Holder resignation is not unrelated.
It's a possibility. It's kind of out of the blue,
I'd say.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I mean, they say, oh, well, because a judge ordered something about Fast and Furious to be released. Nah, I'm not buying that. I don't think that's the reason.
The whole administration has been good at covering up everything and keeping from turning over anything. And why? What's changed? Nothing.
No.
What's interesting to me, though, about this was the reaction to him quitting, including my favorite one. This is Nancy Pelosi, who's at I don't know what she's doing there, but she's at the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus.
Well, because she's black, of course.
Talking to the people there, and half of them, there's a lot of people in the Black Caucus, and I think a few of them are senile, and so they leave their mic open.
So the mic technician is senile.
No, these are all those button mics that they have in the White House. You've seen them. You push the button. Right. You push the button and the mic comes on.
Right.
And then you push the button and the mic goes off.
And if you don't push it off, then you're going to be live.
So they had a couple live people, and this is Pelosi mentioning that Holder's quitting, and then you hear the stuff in the background.
Working to calm tensions and find justice for the family of Michael Brown. This Attorney General has accomplished so much, and so many are sad to see him leave. That feeling was captured this morning when the House Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi, announced his resignation at a Congressional Black Caucus event.
The word is now that the Attorney General will resign today, and he has served our country very, very well. But the message is that the Attorney General will be...
No, you sweetened this. Is this for real? Oh, my God, this is great.
Submitting his resignation.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry, I stepped on that. Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, shock and horror.
The message is that the Attorney General will be submitting his resignation to the President.
You can hear the shock and disappointment in the room, but only because his record has been so impressive and his commitment so strong.
Wow. Wow, that's good.
So what I got out of this was the black commentators, except the ones on Fox, of course, but most of the other ones on PBS and else. PBS, obviously all the main news outlets and MSNBC for sure. Yeah. They're circling the wagons around this guy. They're continually going on and on and on about how great he's going to go down in history, as a matter of fact. I have the one here from Holder Analysis on PBS. This is with Gwen Ifill.
Oh, this is our hagiographer.
Yeah, hagiographer. And so she comes on, and I believe this is the one where she has... she talks first to a black guy who has one of those California black accents, which makes him sound like a white guy. but it's not. It's a black guy, and he's all in.
You are such a racist.
No, it's an accent that you have black people that sound like white guys in California.
I just want to point out that you would never hear this statement anywhere. No one would even think to say that.
Yeah, I know, but it's what it is.
Thank you. Are we good?
Yeah, hit that.
West, Mr. Von Spakovsky earlier compared this attorney general, this outgoing attorney general, to an attorney general who was departed under a cloud, shall we say, Mitchell. Yeah. Who would you I noticed today that one of the first calls he made notifying about his retirement was to, or his stepping down was to Ethel Kennedy. Mm-hmm. Is that who he identifies with?
Well, I'll tell you, he certainly earned the comparison, because when you look at the major issues, and if you just take, the cause of LGBT rights in this country, Eric Holder was on the right side of history. He was on the right side of history in a way that not only allowed the department to comport with its traditional role, but in a way that allowed us to move forward in a way that has transformed this country ever since. So I think when we look back, and again in the fullness of time, we consider his tenure, we consider what he's done in criminal justice reform, we consider what he's done in voting rights, when we consider what he's done for civil rights, I think there's no question that Eric Holder will be one of the greatest attorneys general that the country's seen.
Yeah. Will he outlast his critics, Mr. Von Spakovsky?
I don't think so. I think going down the road, the legacy that he's going to be considered to have is not going to be a good one, and not one that's very complimentary to him.
Final word.
Well, I think
give it the final word. She throws it back to the guy.
The guy who's going to say something nice for the final word. And of course, he was on the right side of history when he actively helped Mark Rich get a pardon from President Clinton.
Yeah, right side of history.
Yeah, that was totally on the right side of history.
He's the right side of history when he started going after whistleblowers.
Yeah, totally on the right side of history. I think he was threatened, John. I think there was some message, and
Holder bailed.
We have to keep a close eye on McCain. Have you seen any of these McCain with al-Baghdadi photos that have been circulating around, which is not being shown anywhere on any news for obvious reasons?
The ones that, I wonder about the legitimacy of those pictures. I've looked at many of them.
Yeah, me too, but still.
Yeah, but there's a lot of similar, there's people coming and going from the picture.
Yeah.
The same exact picture, the same exact pose with a different person there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the original is, but I think most of these have been shopped.
Could be. It's hard to say.
Well, let's listen to a couple more. I collected a bunch of these because it was so funny. But let's play
Holder stuff.
Yeah, I just find it amusing to watch these people circle the wagons. And Amy Goodman, of course.
Ah, yes.
Oh, and actually, wait a minute.
Hold on one second. Should we just for our European, Australian people from other lands, just know that Eric Holder is the Attorney General in the United States. He is the top dog in all law enforcement.
Yeah.
Is everything underneath him? Not the CIA, but FBI is.
Everything but the intelligence is not.
But isn't FBI under him or not?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Okay. Well, more on that later.
Report to him.
Okay.
So people busting the pot shops in California where it was been legalized for medical use is all because of Holder.
And this is Holder's also the guy who famously said we need to brainwash people to give up their guns.
Right. Just a bad guy.
Yeah, well, I guess.
But not if you go to MSNBC, and we're going to skip Amy for a minute and let's go and listen to what Crystal Ball has to say.
Okay.
He's complaining he didn't go to Birmingham.
No, he did not. That's absolutely right.
Eric Holder went to Ferguson himself. But let me deal with his critics with you, Crystal, because in 2011, Eric Holder spoke to the New York Times about his critics and said this about their attacks on him. Quote, "This is a way they get at the president because of the way I can be identified with him, both due to the nature of our relationship and, the fact that we're both African American." What's your response to that?
Well, I think it's just true. And Congresswoman in the last block said this exactly. He was seen as a proxy for the president, both because they have a close relationship, they're friends, and because he was pushing a lot of the president's policy priorities forward in terms of immigration, in terms of even approach to drug law enforcement, in terms
Drug law enforcement, really? He throws that in there?
Yeah, and that's not okay for people to. Of course, it it is completely accepted, but it should not make any difference what race or background you are, and not say,
they love doing this.
Yeah, that's crap. That's bull.
And
crap.
they use it, and then they gather their wagons around these guys.
Why are they doing this? So it appears to me this was a total surprise, came out of left field. No one expected it, and it even worse. I think people, what I'm hearing, they sound frightened.
Well, I think you may be onto something, because this was out of the blue. There's no pre-done packages.
Yeah, thank you.
These are all flying out of there, ad-libbed.
And they just,
Amy, let's play the two Goodman ones, because they're always entertaining. Amy Goodman, and she's got a guy who thinks he's a schmuck, and then another guy circling the wagons.
Your response to his overall record and what President Obama said?
Well, regarding the intersection of national security and civil rights, I think he's had a very troubling legacy, most fundamentally by extending and solidifying the sort of wartime architecture and narrative into our legal system. And so in some ways, he's been an extension of the Bush administration's Justice Department around indefinite detention in Guantanamo, the warrantless surveillance of U.S. citizens, and in some areas has even gone farther around the targeting of journalists who seek to expose illegal federal government misconduct and the use of targeted killing practices to execute U.S. citizens without due process.
Was there an alternative?
Certainly there was an alternative. The alternative, I think, had been articulated fundamentally by President Obama or candidate Obama.
How about not killing people?
Can you believe she said that?
Is there an alternative to killing people?
Is there an alternative to all these illegal activities and spying on the public? Is there an alternative to that? I don't see it.
I really don't see any alternative.
So she's an idiot. So she brings on a stooge who goes on with, unfortunately goes on too long, and I cut this way down.
I like it. It's fine. I like it. It's fun.
Stooge Part 2.
Tens of millions to the worst recession we've faced in 70 years. Tens of millions of people being thrown out of work. Millions of people being thrown out of their homes.
Is this a great country or what?
Basically immunity. And in fact, when the Department of Justice under Eric Holder found evidence of large financial firms engaging in epic-level money laundering.
Hold on a second. Could this be related to the Goldman Sachs tapes?
I don't know.
On behalf of narco-traffickers and countries the U.S. government considers to be enemies, it still decided not to criminally prosecute them on the grounds that they were too big to fail, or as it became known, too big to jail. Essentially, a decision was taken that if you were a financial institution and you become big enough and powerful enough, you are above the criminal law. And unfortunately, that too is going to be a major part of Eric Holder's legacy.
Professor Michael Eric Dyson, your assessment of the Attorney General.
Well, I agree with Attorney Prohl. I think he's one of the most extraordinary attorney generals in the history of this nation. By the time he finishes, he may be the third longest serving attorney general ever. He has weathered the storm of an enormous racial backlash against black people in power at the top. He is arguably the second most powerful black person in the history of American politics after the president himself. So this is a man who was a proxy for the president in many ways in terms of the symbolic representation of black power and the way in which, or American power in a black man, I should say, and the way in which that has been responded to by such vicious and acrimonious, if you will, articulations by people in the Senate, people who are questioning the Attorney General, by politicians who felt open season on him. And as a result of that, when we look at his record, we got to put it in the context of the abstract versus the real, the abstract versus what's achievable. I think in that case, he will stand tall in the history of American jurisprudence, and certainly as one of the great attorneys general of all time.
There you have it. Now, just as a little background, I have one more clip, which is not about him specifically. It discusses him. But this guy was a bank regulator, and he was on, I can't remember which show, but it was one of these shows. And he has this very interesting little diatribe. This is Holder, the banks, and criminal referral. I didn't know a lot of this.
They have made a conscious decision not to go after bankers if they had the authority and they had the law behind them, and they could have turned whistleblowers and
Just for background, this is from Al Jazeera's financial show.
Okay.
Turn people up until they got a major banker or two or
so
three.
There are a couple of things. One, of course, the leading contributors of both of the largest political parties in the United States are big finance, and in particular, the only reason President Obama is the ability to win the Democratic nomination, which was a major upset, as you recall, and he was able to outraise Hillary Clinton, who is a historic friend of the banks. So there's that. Second thing is, what people don't understand, of course, is that banks don't make criminal referrals against their own CEOs. Those criminal referrals can only come from the banking regulatory agencies. In the savings and loan crisis, which was less than 1/100th the size of this crisis, our agency made over 30,000 criminal referrals. That same agency in this massively greater crisis made 0 criminal referrals. And it did so because under the Bush administration, they eliminated the criminal referral process. Wow. Now, obviously, they're responsible for that, but Eric Holder could have reestablished the criminal referral process with one email to the regulatory agencies, and he's failed to do so despite very substantial criticism from people like me.
So there is a lot of analysis about this, about the financial world.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's falling on his sword. The Goldman Sachs tapes, which I really have not been able to get into, mainly for lack of the Goldman Sachs tapes.
Yes.
Which is apparently some hours and hours of...
it could be something in there. I mean, I think you point out wisely that he quit out of the blue.
Yeah.
And he could be in those tapes.
And did you see I was, of course, watching C-SPAN when the president and the attorney general came in to announce his resignation. First, his wife came in, and I should have clipped this, but I don't know why I decided against it. But President Obama, he made a joke, like, well, like me, attorney general married up.
I saw this.
And he said his wife was
the married up joke he uses all the time.
And he said his wife was an OB-GYN. I've never OB-GYN, but an OB-GYN? Have you ever heard it pronounced that way? I've never heard that.
I think it's a science fiction character.
Very good. But when his wife and his sons came in, it was like a wake, man. Everyone was quiet. It was a complete funeral. They're all dressed in dark. Did you see his kids? The Holder's kids?
I didn't pay any attention to them.
No, it was before they came in. I was watching the whole scene.
They were wearing black.
Yeah, they were. They were almost like a veil. His wife had she was wearing a body veil. It was, nice, sexy number there. But it was veiled. It was I don't know. It was really wakish.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States, no hooting and hollering, no clapping, just everyone stands up. Like, here's the body. Like they're bringing the body up onto the lectern. It was very peculiar.
Huh.
Yeah. So well, it could also be a necessary distraction for stuff that's happening. I mean, let's really face it. I mean, there was an article that I saw. I'm gonna just find this for you, just to give you an example. And people, you can use this around the office. It's kind of fun to do this. We now have, hold on a second. Here it is. I have too many things open here. We now have a definitive, where is it? Sorry. Yes. This comes from, where does it come from? Hopefully it's from something valuable. Fukushima, it has now been certified as not contaminating the Pacific.
Oh,
and
they've been bull crapping us. Well, I bought this huge jar of iodine pills,
and I want to make sure. I thought we were supposed to die. Where's the big cloud
by now?
Where is the floating debris of radioactive waste? Where are the dying fish? Where is the radioactive tuna?
Yeah, where's all that
Where is all that? What happened to those guys who were walking around with Geiger tellers?
The guys who told us that was going to happen.
Well, they're still selling seeds and iodine. Yeah. They're doing fine. Actually, I got this tip. I got this tip from Sir Atomic Rod Adams, who, of course, is on top of all of this stuff because that's what he does. And he has, and it's in the show notes. You can see that it's been certified. The Nuclear Regulation Authority, and everyone's saying, "Oh, well, it's okay. We're all going to live. We're not going to die." And then he sent me this other thing in reference to what Spokeshole Kerry said. You recall that he said this the other day.
You don't have to take my word for it. You have to take Al Gore's word for it. You have to take the IPCC's word and the Framework Convention, all those people who are sounding the alarm bells. You can just wake up pretty much any day and listen to Mother Nature, who is screaming at us about it.
And so Atomic Rod...
by the way, it turned out it wasn't Mother Nature, some old lady across the street.
Well, Atomic Rod went out in nature with his iPhone and recorded Mother Nature screaming at him. Oh, my goodness.
How could any birds be alive? That makes zero sense.
And they shouldn't be recordable if Mother Nature is screaming. Well, you get the point.
Yeah, okay. I have a much better bird clip than that. I'll send it in. It's the birds of Holland. When I was in the Netherlands with Jan Eilman, we're taking a tour of all the restaurants in the country, literally. And I hate using that word, but it's a fact. I had him pull over because we were in some wooded area, and there's a lot of woods there people don't realize. And it was the birds were just out of control, noisy, because it had just rained. And somebody mentioned that after a rain, the birds really start yelling at each other because there's all kinds of food coming up.
I have good birds. Here, this is my.
You have birds in Austin?
Yeah, listen.
One of those water things?
No, that's like when you hit your head and you're all dizzy. It's one of those.
All right. Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Birds.
Well, if you're
gonna you mentioned Rod Adams, we might as well mention something. But since we just stay on the topic just for a second, I do have tech news.
The tech news jingles.
This one has a built-in jingle.
Oh, hold on a second. Do I just play it?
Yeah.
Welcome back. It's the start of the second half, so that means it's time for this month's tech news.
Wait, there must be a new phone. Did I miss a new phone? Is there another phone besides the iPhone? Is there a phone?
This is actual tech news.
Oh, tech news.
Wow. The first ever batch of mixed oxide fuel tablets have been produced by Rosatom at the Mining and Chemical Combine in the Krasnoyarsk region.
Nice.
The mixture of uranium and plutonium dioxides are designed for use in the next generation breeder reactors currently operating at the Belyarskaya nuclear power plant. The technology enables a closed fuel cycle that doesn't produce any waste, paving the way for a new, clear future.
No waste.
No, it's the breeder reactors, which we've been talking about for years.
This is the newest version, and this has got no waste. It's apparently very efficient. Wait a minute. We
eats its own
can't
waste.
do anything like that in this country because we're scared of the radiation.
It was pointed out to me that Pandora's Promise is now on Netflix. That's a movie you should... it's a documentary. Could have been better, but it's definitely worth watching. And if you search search.nashownotes.com, you can find the show where we reviewed it, and when Ms. Mickey and I went to see it, and we were the only people in the movie theater. The only people.
Who wants to go see some propaganda like that?
That'd be
bring iodine pills.
Well, especially because it's Stuart Brand, who is a known greenie who converted during this, and a number of others.
I know a number of greenies that have converted to this thinking, but there's still so few that it just can't get any headway.
And you'll bring we should do it. So now you say, hey, it's like...
and you think, the other thing is General Electric is a big nuke operation. And they're so in the White House. I mean, they go all in. I mean, when they owned NBC, still the remnants of NBC. It's all Democrat. They promote, they do everything they can to get on the good side of the government, especially the Democrats. And they get nowhere with it when it comes to the nuke program.
Yeah, and if you bring it up and then people say, oh, yeah, you might want to talk to the people in Japan about nuclear energy.
Yes, that's what they do.
Well, most people died from the tsunami, not from any kind of poisoning of radiation.
Yes.
And radiation, you don't really have to be afraid of radiation. By itself, radiation is not something that's going to kill you indiscriminately. Kind of tying into tech news, and also a little bit of Holder. There was I was thinking about the term homeland, which we've been identifying. People using
it's
this
been
over and
irritating
over.
you more and more.
And I'm thinking there is a battle for the homeland, and then I fell into a path, a rabbit hole, if you will, that there are multiple agencies. Sorry. Sorry.
You okay? You
No.
need I'm going to say somebody out there.
I need a lozenge.
Cough button.
I need a.
He's a cough button more than a
Who
lozenge.
cares? What? Oh, I'm sorry. You're grossed out by a cough? Jeez.
No. It's just it's you're coughing. I'm concerned, and I'll tell you why. This cough has been getting worse and worse show after show.
No, it hasn't.
Oh, you were coughing. If I rang the bell every time you coughed, it'd be at least 10, 20 times.
Okay.
So I'm worried.
Good. You should be, because without me.
Yeah, well.
Exactly.
Or the show could be, I'm Adam Curry.
I'm Adam Curry.
Yeah, we can go with that.
All right. So there's a battle for the homeland. Multiple agencies are vying for this. And of course, when you have a homeland, when you call your country the homeland, it's pretty obvious that homeland security is going to be a bunch of guys who are protecting the homeland, which is, pretty frightening, especially when you know how large the Department of Homeland Security is.
Huge.
So coming into this tech news was a lot of, like an instant burst of information about something our new director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Comey, had said. Now, we've been looking at Comey for a while for a number of reasons. It turns out he ran for 5 years. He was operational in some, not Raytheon, but what's another big one?
A bunch of them. Let's look it up while you're talking.
And then he was also, I think, chairman of the board at HSBC. So this guy is very well connected. Then he's a lawyer.
Yeah, lawyer banker.
He was it's the same thing. He was a assistant district attorney. He's been involved.
He's a player.
He's a big time player.
Big time player.
And he said something which at a press conference on Thursday, which for some unknown reason, there is no audio or video recording. So I don't understand if it was a press conference, if the press was there, why there is. And I looked on C-SPAN, which is where I fell down the rabbit hole.
Okay, before you go on, I got to say this is a little tidbit I didn't realize, since I used to bring it up all the time on the show. Comey is credited as the main prosecutor in the Martha Stewart case.
I didn't know that either. So he's a dick.
Yeah, apparently.
Huh. What contract did he? Some military industrial complex.
I'm not finding it.
5 years.
Oh, here it is. Lockheed Martin.
There you go. I mean, he was operational.
President for Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, he was operational. So here is the only, because of course I could read it to you, but I always like it. It's better when someone else reads it. Here is that former RT girl on who now works for Huffington Post, and she's going to read what Comey said. Again, I'm very disappointed there was no audio or video. Oh, sorry, wrong one.
All right, now speaking of the FBI and James Comey, looks like the intelligence official is a little worried about his access to your phone. The agency director said on Thursday that he was, quote, very concerned about the new steps that tech giants like Apple and Google were taking to strengthen privacy protection on cell phones. Last week, Apple announced that it would no longer be possible to technically unlock encrypted iPhones and iPads because user passcodes could no longer be bypassed, meaning that law enforcement officials wouldn't be able to tap into your mobile devices anymore. Comey, however, wasn't too pleased. He said, quote, I'm a huge believer in the rule of law, but I'm also a believer that no one in this country is beyond the law. What concerns me about this is companies marketing something expressly to allow people to place themselves above the law. He went on to say, quote, the notion that someone would market a closet that could never be opened, even if it involves a case involving a child kidnapper.
Think of the children.
And a court order, to me, does not make any sense. I find this completely to be the most absurd statement.
Yeah, we don't care what you think. So that I found an interesting statement where he is saying you cannot market a product that has complete security, because then you place you're saying, hey, criminals, buy my product. So I wanted to see what this press conference was. Could not find it. Could not find a transcript or anything. But I did find very strange. He I guess he was forced to do. He's coming into his own now. And now he's now it's a couple months. He's been in his department, and this guy is like a nut job operator, and he is a frightening individual, and I'm going to let you hear why. So he was forced to do this Friday afternoon, and this was the week before. Keynote, God knows what it was for, but it was on C-SPAN. It's from the 17th of September or the 20th. And he is in front of almost an empty auditorium. It's like people, crap, look at this guy, this Comey guy, this lawyer banker guy. I'll go see what he has to say. And I'll start off with this bit about cyber, as this is one of his main points of operational focus.
I've tried to explain to people who know the world of cyber less than you that
you would be the audience.
Cyber touches everything I'm responsible for. Counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and all of our criminal responsibilities manifest in cyber.
Everything?
Because it's not a thing, it's just a way, right? It's a vector.
It's a vector, John.
It's a vector.
You might want to write this down. This
guy's he is nutty.
It's a vector.
It's a way that bad people do things.
Cyber is a way that bad people do things.
Because we, as a people, have connected our entire lives to the internet. Right? It's where my children play. It's where I bank. It's where my health care is. It's where my nation's critical infrastructure is. It's where our nation's secrets are. It is where everything is in this country and around the world.
Sorry?
So maybe it was a dumb idea connecting all this stuff. I was never an advocate.
But also, I find that to be an oversimplification.
Oh, yeah.
Cyber is not where your kids play and where you bank. That's not exactly that. That is... That's more a series of tubes analogy.
He's looking meta, I guess.
That vector change touches everything I'm responsible for.
Vector change. Now,
what was the old vector?
I'm glad you asked.
I was recently in Indiana, and a local sheriff gave me a bullet fired from John Dillinger's Thompson submachine gun. And as I stared at the Dillinger bullet, it occurred to me that a great vector change of the 20th century actually gave birth to the modern FBI. Because in the 1920s into the 1930s, the confluence of asphalt and the automobile was a vector change that the world had never seen before.
Now, pay attention to what he's saying here. It's very interesting.
Suddenly, criminals could commit crimes across unheard of distances, 2 states, 3 states in the same day, moving at speeds that were unimaginable, 40 miles an hour, downhill 50 miles an hour. County lines suddenly were not relevant. State lines were not relevant. And a national force was needed to respond to that vector change. There was the first director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and the modern FBI was born to respond to that new vector, that new way.
So you understand the vector analogy now? Are you good with the vectors? Victor?
No, not really. I mean, I do understand, but I'm not good with it. But okay, I can see what he's up to.
Joe, you have no idea, my friend. And I'm going to play a little bit more of this cyber vector thing. And I started noticing something very strange that he does, which really, and this is so typical of our show, it really didn't notice it until I started to listen and not watch.
As I stood there staring at the Dillinger bullet, it occurred to me that Dillinger could not do 1,000 robberies in all 50 states in the same day in his pajamas from halfway around the world. Woo! That's what today's vector change represents, right? The unheard of distances.
Now, I don't think you've heard it yet, but I started hearing all of these. He's grunting in between his staccato phrases. And the grunts are sometimes... But very, very quietly, and usually after he says something that is total crap, he says, right? Listen to this.
By this threat, right? I was in Indianapolis. Shanghai is next to Indianapolis on the internet, right?
Do you hear it?
Yeah, he's going to hurt. right?
Well, he's saying right.
He's saying right.
So when he says Shanghai is next to Indianapolis on the internet, he says right.
Yeah, but he says it very softly. It's weird.
I have a couple more
No.
All right.
Oh, my neck.
From halfway around the world. That's what today's vector change represents. Right? The unheard of distance.
You hear it, right?
Yeah, he's saying it constantly.
But only when it's bullshit. That is his tell. It's like sticking your tongue out. So to say, that Shanghai is next to Illinois on the internet, yeah, okay, but it's bullcrap. And here's another one.
The speed of Dillinger and his ilk are infinitely smaller and more narrow than the speed at which and the distances over which the threat moves today, right? The internet moves at 186,000 miles per second.
Right. So it's a very troubling tell, but I believe it will be very advantageous for us to pay attention to that when he's testifying or doing it. We need to note that.
This is a fantastic find.
Now, this guy, I have a couple more clips here. I've tried to keep them short.
And you're right, it's very hard to hear.
Yeah. It comes from the subconscious deep in his throat, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. And when you really listen to it on headphones, it's just, oh my God. And he uses a lot of sports metaphors. And he is, again, he's an operator. And he just goes off the deep end on what he thinks the FBI should be doing. And please be aware, well, I got a bombshell coming up in a minute. First, listen to this.
One of my worries in communicating with my workforce is that sometimes, especially with people who've been around a while, when they hear words like domain, requirement, gaps, the terms of art of the intelligence profession, sometimes for people who aren't familiar with them, it sounds a little bit foreign. Right? I just described the entire thing to you without using those words. What I've said to the special agents of the FBI transformation, oversimplified, is simply this. The core of the FBI, the gift at the core of the FBI is the ability to interact with other human beings and get stuff. Right?
Get stuff.
What we're trying to do is get more thoughtful about what stuff do we need to know, how are we going to find that stuff out.
Did you actually hear what he said about the core of the FBI?
Right. What we're trying to
There's a dropout in the tape, unfortunately.
The FBI, the gift at the core of the FBI is the ability to interact with other human beings and get stuff.
We interact with other human beings and we get stuff. Like the Boston guys. We shoot your head off and we get stuff from you. Maybe we'll get the stuff first, then we'll interact with you by shooting you in the head. Right?
What we're trying to do is get more thoughtful about what stuff do we need to know.
Oh, what stuff?
How are we going to find that stuff out? And the stuff we find out, who needs to know that?
It's a lot of stuff he talks about.
And how does it connect to the other stuff we know? To get that done,
it gets better.
I need to wrap that gift in a donut of equally talented people.
But why do these cop-like guys?
I noticed this about this character once before. He sounds like with slightly different language. He sounds like a Silicon Valley bullcrapper.
Yeah,
that's because he was at Lockheed Martin for a while, and he picked up this style of presentation.
And he's wrapping
anything,
and he's wrapping stuff in donuts.
We'll think about that all day long. What stuff do we need to know? How are we going to find that stuff out? How does that connect to other stuff that we know? And who needs to know the stuff we just learned?
Are you kidding me? Shit, I can be the director of the FBI. Right.
That is my intelligence cadre. To surround that gift, which is my special agents. Oversimplified, but that's how I conceive of it. The transformation that Bob Mueller began, and that I'm going to continue, is simply trying to make sure that that donut of smart thinking, of creative thinking, of gap-focused thinking surrounds everything that the FBI does.
The donut of smart thinking.
Of gap-focused thinking.
Yeah.
So that whether we're working a criminal case, or cyber, or counterintelligence, or counterterrorism, or training, recruiting, thinking about security, thinking about the budget, thinking about everything the FBI does, all of those activities are suffused with that same thinking. So what stuff do we need to know? Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, thank you. Now this guy drops a bombshell. And I didn't know this. I have so far been unable to find the record of it, but it blew me right off. It blew my socks off.
Who's been traveling to that country? Who do you know who went back there? Who's studying the hard sciences from that country? Get me lots of stuff, bring it back, and smart people will figure out what we're going to do with that and who needs to know that.
That, by the way, sounds perfect to me. That's how we do it. Give me some stuff. We'll have the smart people look at the stuff. This guy, an idiot. Now, here it comes.
Because I believe this has to be part of everything the FBI does, I have taken the Intelligence Directorate and taken it out from under the National Security Branch. The moment I walked in the door and looked at our organization chart, I said, that doesn't make sense to me. Because if I'm trying to drive this integration, this way of thoughtfulness into everything we do, what's that doing sitting under the National Security Branch? I want it part of criminal. I want it part of cyber. I want it part of everything we do here. And so I took it and created, with Congress's permission, an intelligence branch.
Hold on a second. Did something very drastic just change at the power that the FBI has?
Sounds like it to me.
Holy crap.
And he took the director of intelligence and put him under him? Talking about Clapper? Who are we talking about?
I think what I'm not sure exactly, because if you look at the FBI's website, you still see this National Security Branch. They haven't updated the website of any of this. There's no new. I can't find any congressional record of this change. He says that he did it with the permission of Congress.
Yeah, can you play it back again?
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't think so. But does this mean that are they now a true competitor to the NSA? It certainly seems like they're a competitor to Department of Homeland Security.
Well, it seems like, well, you know, one of the things we've done on this show is we've seen these little feuds develop within the government and their turf wars.
Very big time.
And so NSA looks like it's been spying on the public, and well, they're not supposed to be doing that. But we should do it. We want to do that anyway, but the NSA shouldn't do it. Why don't we do it?
And here's that piece again.
Taking it out from under the National Security Branch.
No, back it up, back.
Well, that is, I think that's...
I have taken the Intelligence Directorate and taken it out from under the National Security Branch.
The Intelligence Directorate. He has taken the Intelligence Directorate, I presume from the FBI or from the National... I don't understand how this works.
The moment I walked in the door and looked at our organization chart, I said, that doesn't make sense to me. Because if I'm trying to drive this integration, this way of thoughtfulness into everything we do,
I get it.
What's that doing sitting under the National Security Branch? I want it part of criminal. I want it part of cyber. I want it part of everything we do here.
Okay.
I think he has created his own intelligence branch, is what he's saying. His own little spy agency.
Yeah, but there's something else going on here. His man, because he talks about National Security Branch, so he's talking about NSA.
I'm not sure. That's what I thought. I'm not sure.
I'm totally convinced of it, and this is the reason. This happened a couple of times. They've used NSA data to do criminal prosecutions of drug smuggling and some other things. They've done this. It's been repressed, but we discussed it on the show. It's been done a couple of times where the NSA says, oh, no, this is just dark. We don't do anything with this data until we find a terrorist threat. And then it turns out the FBI has scarfed some of the data, and then they've tracked people down, and then they've rebuilt the evidence backwards to make it look legit.
Yeah, reverse engineered.
They've arrested people. And so the FBI knows how valuable it is what the NSA has been doing for them. And the FBI has always been, I believe, an extremely lazy organization that would just love to have everyone's phone tapped without a bunch of bull crap having to go through the court systems and justify the tap and all these things you got to do. It's a lot of work. When you can just tap the phone. Why can't we just tap the phone? Because, we're trying to stop crime.
So while I did not find the quote that I wanted, which was that Apple is marketing goods to criminals, I did find this in this little speech he did.
There are other places when someone says, isn't it terrible the government wants to break encryption on the internet? No, it's not.
No.
No.
This is good. It's good for us.
It's a very good thing.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. He said it twice. No, it's not. This is the director of the FBI. No, it's not. It's good. We should be breaking encryption.
With lawful authority, overseen by the third branch of government, I need to be able to do that. If I show probable cause.
By the way, the National Security Branch, the initials are NSB, which is kind of what the Nazis use as their They're stool pigeons.
And go to a federal judge and get a warrant, I will save children that way.
You save children again. Well, it's good.
I will fight organized crime that way. I will fight terrorism that way in a way that makes sense.
And I will shut down them Curry and Dvorak podcasters.
It took me 60 seconds just to say that. Finding that 60 seconds in American life today is very, very difficult.
What?
I know. He's a dick.
He just kind of changes the topic.
He's a dick. Let's go back to his the NSA, NSB thing.
And so I took it and created, with Congress's permission.
That's what I want to find. I want to find the text of what was permitted and what it means. I couldn't find it, John. I just could not find it.
Intelligence branch. We last had an intelligence branch when Mo Baginski was running it.
Mo Baginski. What do we know about Mo Baginski?
I never heard of Mo Baginski.
It sounds like a character on The Simpsons.
And it may be fair to say that the Bureau wasn't ready for it then.
This sounds like a dark period in the FBI. Mo Baginski. Come on, let's look at this. Hold on a second.
I'm looking him up, too.
Mo Baginski. I don't even know. I'm just guessing. Mo Baginski.
Yeah, it's just probably just exactly like spelled. Maybe with a Y or an I.
Baginski, B-A-G, Baginski, Mo. You keep looking.
Mo Baginski.
It is ready for it now. The work that Mo did and a lot of other people did has matured our approach.
Oh, it's a woman.
Maureen?
Yeah.
What did Mo do?
Known around town as Mo Baginski, Russian linguist, Soviet expert. I'll look at it and see what I can come up with.
To this entire donut hole and donut in a way that I think we're ready for that.
More donuts.
And so I've asked Eric Velez-Villar to be the first.
I love Velez-Villar. This is good. So he's not actually going to do anything. He's getting Eric Velez-Villar, Hezbollah. What is his name? Oh, this is funny. Some guy that he knows from somewhere else to do the work that he can blame the fall guy.
Asked Eric Velez-Villar to be the first of the modern era.
Velez-Villar.
Executive Assistant Director for Intelligence. And I've told our workforce...
See, you're screwed, Velez-Villar.
There's another practical reason I want to do that. I want to stare at Eric Velez-Villar every single morning at my table and say, how's it going? How's it going? How is the transformation going?
This is this guy's job. I want to sit at that table every morning and say, how's it going? How's it going? How's the transformation going?
I think of sometimes the combination of operations and intelligence is a bit like an arranged marriage. In the FBI, I'm told that some arranged marriages result in crowds of grandchildren and lifelong love.
What?
And others don't. And so I want to know, how's the marriage? How is it in Omaha? How is it in San Antonio? How is it in Miami? How are we driving to make it better?
White man speaking metaphor. But tell me about Mo Baginski.
Okay, Maureen Baginski was the FBI's vision lady in a U.S. News and World Report article in 2004. I'll just read you this and show you what she's kind of like. Maureen Baginski's leery of heights, yet every morning just before dawn, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's powerful intelligence czar wills herself to drive over a narrow shoulderless two-lane bridge across a river, part of a nearly 2-hour commute from her home in Virginia to FBI headquarters in Washington. When I cross it in the dark, my legs start to get rubbery, says Baginski.
Wow.
Anyway, this is kind of the beginning of it. And it turns out that she came over from NSA.
Mm-hmm.
And it was what he's describing now is what she was trying to do then. And her supporters say that if anyone can do it, it's like what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to be the defeat interagency crapola, and she was supposed to set up shop and some sort of intelligence network. And I can.
Okay, so
it's a very long article. I'll read it after the show and figure out why this didn't work and why she got kicked out.
Here's what I'm seeing. This is why I said there is a battle for control of the homeland, and it is my possible belief that Department of Homeland Security is so messed up. We know that Lucy Napolitano left, and the whole place is in disarray. It's there's incredibly male unfriendly. There's lots of
it's a bunch of
verbal abuse, sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse from lesbians against men.
But there's all kinds, and I'm sure there's all kinds of crap going on. Just look at the TSA. There is all kinds of stuff that is wrong. This is a new department that started after 9/11, and it's huge. How many people work in the Department of Homeland Security?
It's the biggest of all the agencies.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked.
I know. I don't have the number on the top of my head.
How many people? Well, you know what to do.
I'm doing it. population.
It's 200,000. 200,000 people. Yeah, that's not easy.
That's hard to manage.
Yeah. And here he is. So there's a little Q&A session afterwards, and here he is answering an obvious question about the turf.
How you
this woman, by the way, who worked with him, I mean, she should have just put the knee pads on. Oh, when she was introducing him and doing the questions. It was disgusting.
Interact to ensure DHS can perform both its departmental and its national intelligence mission.
Yeah. On the intelligence front, it's fabulous. Thanks to relationships built by some people like John Cohen and having Frank there. All of you know who've worked in Washington. Structures matter, but the nature of the people occupying the structures matters even more. So we have knit together in a way that's very, very good on the intelligence front. We bump into it. They have a lot of responsibilities. I have a lot of responsibilities. We bump into each other in a lot of different areas that are primarily law enforcement related. And as I've told my troops, I have no patience for turf battles. I don't think the American people have patience for turf battles. I sometimes hear folks say, is this agency or that agency encroaching on our traditional turf? And my reaction is, that reminds me of a wide receiver, maybe from my hapless New York Football Giants, saying the quarterback's not throwing to me enough. And my response to that is, run great routes, get open, and every time you touch the ball, score a touchdown. You will get the ball. Just be excellent.
I just really love that metaphor. But a bunch of kooky agents running around trying to find stuff. I got to be open. Got to get the ball.
And that's my message to my folks. Be excellent.
Be excellent.
But on the intelligence front, I think we're in a great place. And any other bumps, we're working them out.
Oh, yeah.
And I've known Jay Johnson since I was a baby federal prosecutor. And so we have made it our mission to try and knit us together.
Stewart.
We're already in a good place on intelligence, on cyber especially, and on all of our criminal responsibilities.
The horrors of Martha Stewart.
Then here is the final clip that I'll play of him. This really shows you how this guy thinks. And I am very saddened to see that. Why did this not come up in his confirmation hearing?
I reject the notion, the framework of trade-off, right, of balance between security and liberty. I reject that trade-off because I believe the most effective security is that which enhances liberty.
Oh. Let me just see if I understand this.
How does that even work?
Well, he has an example, but
it's a good, interesting thing to say.
The most effective security gives you liberty. That reminds
me. This is very Orwellian.
Well, you know what that reminds me of?
Fear is freedom. Subjugation is liberation. Contradiction is truth. Those are the facts of this world. And you will all surrender to them. You pigs in human clothing.
I reject the notion, the framework of trade-off, right, of balance between security and liberty. I reject that trade-off because I believe the most effective security is that which enhances liberty.
Let's get an example from him.
If I imagine in my mind's eye a city park where gangbangers are hanging out in a way that allows them to dominate the park but not to allow children or grandparents to use that park, and the city responds by putting a police officer in that park, liberty and security have both been enhanced.
Oh.
It's just that simple.
That doesn't sound right. So that's the answer to everything? We'll just put an armed person in there. So that, that no one overstands. If grandpa gets too rowdy, we'll shoot him. This cannot be the way it's intended. This cannot be right, John. This guy is frightening, Comey. The best security equals liberty, please.
No, enhances.
Enhances, whatever.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so we'll be on the lookout for this.
We're following this guy a little closer now.
Yeah.
Now I know that he's the guy, the big shot that went after Martha Stewart, the dangerous criminal.
who who went to jail.
It's plague on society. We got to lock her up.
They put her in jail, too.
Yeah.
This guy's my hero. That's right. And so are you, John C. Dvorak. So I thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, JCD.
Oh, and in the morning to you, and in the morning to all the boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And in the morning to everyone in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Good to see y'all showing up once again. In the morning to our artistes. Man, we had some good art the last show.
Actually, we did. We had way too much to pick from.
Secret Agent Paul. The Secret Agent Paul has done a lot for this. He has had a number of album covers, I think 3, but he is also.
I didn't note it. I don't remember ever seeing it.
Number. It's
been a while ago.
But he also was behind many. I mean, I can't even mention how many of the jingles we use on the show that he has made. He came up with the dude named Ben that I just played for you. He did that one. Also, this new one. Guy's got talent.
Yeah, he should be doing jingles.
I like that.
All right, well, we have a big surprise today, I have to say.
Oh?
We have 2 Instanites.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I want to talk to these guys because both these Instanites went into the old account. So it means there's a link out in the wild for knighthoods that sends it to the old account, which is what one of the accounts we've been trying to, phase out.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm looking at the numbers and I see this thing, the Instanite come through, and I go back and look at the paper. I said, I don't see. Oh, it's in the old account. So I find the old account. There's 2 of them in there, and they both came in about the same time, which is odd. And one guy, let's name him and read their little notes here. First one is Terry Stelly of Mobile, Alabama. Comes in and he has a note. He says, I just donated $1,000 to become an Instanite using Visa. I couldn't find a place to email my note. Thanks, dear John and Adam. I just can't take it anymore. After listening to the heartbreaking dejection in John's voice on the last show, I realized that the guilt that I feel for listening to the best podcast in the universe without fulfilling my part of the value for value model by not donating has risen to climactic proportions.
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
I realize today that I must rid myself of my douchebaggery if I'm ever to enjoy the No Agenda show again. So please accept my Instanite donation with my profundest apologies. From henceforward, I would like to be known. You have to write this down.
Oh, isn't that on the sheet?
No, because he didn't get this note.
Okay, hold on. Where am I?
Sir Terry, the cheap bastard of Mobile Bay.
Okay, hold on a second. We have Sir Terry, the cheap bastard of Mobile Bay. All right.
I would also like to challenge my buddy John P. from Lafayette, who has failed the value for value model.
Uh-oh.
Accordingly, please give him a douchebag. Douchebag. And relay to him this challenge. Now, this is interesting because this is something that could possibly catch on.
Uh-oh.
If he recants from his douchebag ways and starts to donate, I will match his donations dollar for dollar.
Oh.
Until he, too, becomes a knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. With any luck,
that.
No Agenda Challenge will spread throughout Gitmo Nation so you guys can keep up the outstanding work.
That's an addition to the douchebag call-out. That's cool.
And he wants a de-douching a little girl, yay, karma.
Okay, see, this is the part when I don't have the notes.
Yes, I understand.
It's a de-douching and LGY. What else was there?
Yeah, and a karma, of course.
Well, obviously. Okay, let's do that.
You've been de-douched. Yay! You've got karma.
Yes, and I do want to remind everyone that is an LGY, a little girl yay, as I've been replying in email that to people that, what's LGY? That's little girl yay. That's what you just heard. Just so you know.
I had a note from a guy. What was it he asked? He asked, where does it... Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have it handy. So, guy asked, where did you get... He says, Who is that? What movie is that from? The Adios Mofo. Is that, and he named a bunch of actors. Is that the Clooney, or who's saying that? And I realized that we've been playing Adios Mofo for so long that I think people forgot, or newcomers definitely do not know where that comes from.
Adios Mofo.
When Rick Perry, this is many years ago, after a TV interview, he was pissed off at the interviewer, and he said, "Adios, mofo." And of course, they recorded that, and that's where it's from.
Yeah. Okay. So
cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, and
Sir Terry will be knighting you.
We have
later.
to figure some way to monitor that so we can
please
make sure that
no.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We have to figure out some way.
Yeah. I'll write a script for that right away.
Why don't you write some JavaScript for us? Kurt Winkelmammuller in Townsville, Queensland, Australia, also known as Team Winky. Hi, gents. Just got around to extracting my digit and giving the best podcast in the universe its due. I'm doing so, however, I missed personalized note portion of the page. I think that the old
it doesn't have the note.
Doesn't have the little note thing.
We got to find out where this link is so we can change it.
I have to find it, so we have to swat it and change it so it goes to the right location.
Swat it.
So I just want to thank you both for your courage and hours of entertainment you provide to all us astute enough to listen regularly. I agree with that analysis. Please, if this note finds you before the show, could I be knighted and you need your pen again?
Oh, boy. Okay.
Sir Kurt of Team Winky.
Sir Kurt of Team Winky? W-I-N-K-I-E?
No, W-A-I-N-K-Y.
Oh, okay. Of Team Winky. Winky. Yeah, okay. Winky. You got it.
Team Winky. And here they come. I am presently battling with the boards of unemployed running around the lucky country of Gitmo Down Under. I would greatly appreciate some job karma and some F cancer for his dad, who was in a battle of a different kind. Keep it up, boys. You're truly making a difference, and that, my friends, is something very special in this world. Cheers, Kurt.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Wow. Well, that is very nice. 2 Instanites. Thank you very much, Terry and Kurt. And I look forward to these to the ceremonies later. This will be great.
Yeah, fabulous. No, I was impressed.
Fabulous.
Meanwhile, we don't have any slouches here with Sir Don Tommaso di Toronto coming in with $656.
Hey, he'll be the club member.
He is the 656 club member. Couldn't pass up a palindrome, he says. I love me some palindrome. Here's my palindrome for 656. Need some karma for the freeloaders.
You got it.
You've got karma.
We have a couple donations of one of my favorite numbers, starting with Sir David Foley.
Hold on a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can't just do that.
That was remiss.
Yeah, hold on a second, because I had this whole thing all set up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring, weighing 333 pounds, he's the Grand Duke of Gitmo, USA, Sir David Foley.
I don't think he's really 333 pounds.
No, he is not close to that. I mean, not close. I'm sorry, I'm just typing something in.
That's okay.
Okay.
But he does come in with one of our favorite sequential donations.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one of my all-time favorite numbers.
Yep.
ITM and John and Adam at close find one of John's favorite donations. Thank you for your courage and continuing to deliver the news and analysis. Sans the typical media goo. Please send some wonderful no-agenda karma as I prepare for a big trade show coming this week.
Yeah, he's in Vegas, and I hooked him up with our producers there, with our dame there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, of course, man. This is important. We got to get these people hanging together.
You've got karma.
It's all part of the Global Intelligence Network. You bet.
All right. Next, we have, curiously, an absolute second
favorite sequence
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from Nicholas Ramondi, and in Fremont over here. I can see it from here, actually. And he did send a note in. which I just had to look up, which I was doing. Thanks for the show today, listening to it. Now, somehow I missed the special directions to add in the comment with my donation. Submitted a donation at 345, blah, blah, blah. I missed getting it in time for today's show, which I guess was Thursday.
Yeah.
It would have been the top donation. Could you please add in a comment about how you got me to start listening to the show when announcing this donation? How did I get him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Does he tell you?
No, he doesn't. Please also label my donation be from Nick in Fremont. Okay, Nick in Fremont. I came across a beheading video today that was quite disturbing. I don't think it was the one discussed on the show. I was finally using a machete. I'll look forward to you in a moment if you could also send it to Adam. Oh, okay, we'll send it. I think we've looked at that one, the machete one, which is a real beheading, which is gruesome. Yeah. It's not really very pleasant. Yeah.
And her head is gone.
Yeah, and there you have it. And I do not see how he got started listening to the show. He had his 2 notes. He sent in a duplicate. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's 34567 from Fremont. Nick from Fremont. Richard Riley. Whoops. What am I doing here? Yeah, Richard Riley in Loomis, California at 33340. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to have to look him up. I'm sure there's a Riley.
Was this a check that came in, or
no?
How come these notes are not in the spreadsheet? I mean, I don't want to complain or anything, but
because he didn't put a note in the.
Oh, okay, so it came in separately.
I think they're not there. I
don't know.
All Eric does is just download it. So there's nothing there. He can't do anything about it.
Right, but then they're sending these things to you. They're sending these notes. If they send it to me,
should be sending it to everyone.
To me, yeah. If you want something done, send it to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't find Richard Riley's note. There's no Riley. I'll figure it out we'll get it before the end of the show.
Sure.
Tyler O'Brien, 23456, another favorite. In Boca Raton, 23456. We're going to get thematic here. From Tyler O'Brien, listener since episode 1, also daily source code listener before that. Just sending a little value for value your way, even though the media we producers get from your podcast outweighs any monetary amount. This is a small thank you and another step on my journey to knighthood.
Yay.
Can I get a little girl boom shakalaka de-douching for my beautiful girlfriend and myself? Do not read on show the rest of this.
Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka.
You've been de-douched.
Hey.
Yeah, this is where I would be with a prompter, too.
Yeah. What?
Do not read on show.
Do not read on show. Yeah. John L. Dvorak.
Okay. Now we have the issue with the notes.
Brian, Sir
I do have this. Yeah, this is Sir Ludark Babark Fudge Fountain in Ann Arbor, Michigan, also known as Bryan Hall. 23456, another one. And he sent a nice note in with the sealing wax on the note
from his knighthood ring.
Yes, which is always very interesting to run into.
Yeah.
In the morning, please find a V4V.
Value for value.
Exactly. I request the tricky and possibly lame. Here, this will be tough.
Okay, I'm ready.
Putin, Hitler, Obama, and a de-douching. For my last donations was before Club 33 apocalypse. He thinks so. He feels he's behind. So he needs those 3 things plus the de-douching. In lieu of karma, no, he doesn't want karma. In lieu of karma, I'd like to register a gripe.
Oh.
Inspired by your diligent war on weird linguistic quality control, it is tongue clicking. It bugs me when I do it just as much as when I hear others do it. Adam seems to be a bit clickier than you, John. But then his signal often has the benefit of a couple more dog biscuits. So you got yourself turned up too loud.
Tongue clicking? Maybe it's the Tourette's. You'll have to. I don't. You know what? Thanks. Now I'm going to be clicking my tongue because now the Tourette's is kicking in. Thanks.
Shout out to Morgan and Anta, and not Morgan of the Reflective Air podcast. Sometimes I think of it as No Agenda's eccentric British nephew. It shows considerable promise. Thanks to Adam for his gracious handling of my sporadic and mostly ill-conceived emails. And thanks for the both of you for what I consider the No Agenda secret clubhouse. Oh, yes, I guess it is. Anyway, he goes on. I feel many of us that haven't discovered No Agenda would be listening to the slack-jawed Terry Gross babbling about Mad Men.
Are we ready?
Yeah, hit it.
Interesting.
You've got karma.
It's interesting. I like that one.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting.
It's okay. That worked for me.
Sorry, I couldn't barely read. I know I was having trouble reading. It's dark in here. And then we have Timnonymous. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip somebody? Yeah, I did. Sir Don Cool.
Yeah.
In Windham, New Hampshire, 21012. This donation is for Adam. Disregard that asshole Dutch media bullshit. I must say Mickey is hot. This is about the newsletter.
Yeah.
Adam, give me your favorite combo. Love you guys. Sir Don.
Thank you, Sir Don.
We are here, #America, near our hashtag target. Soon.
Bingo, boom, boom, chakalaka, boom, 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 chakalaka, boom, boom.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Tim Anonymous sent in a check from Worcester, Massachusetts, $200, and he's our last associate executive producer for show 656. He sends a check. Says Tim Anonymous. It's in paper. It's mailed in. No note. He just wants to send us the money.
Perfect.
No comment.
Well, we thank all of these executive producers and associate executive producers for coming through, doing their job. This is how the show works.
Yes. Financing the show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we'll do another one on Thursday. So we do need the support to continue so we can continue to do this kind of analysis for you. A lot of stuff coming up on today's show, obviously, and please go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And always try to do your best. Be out there, propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
What are you doing?
Shut up, slave.
Okay. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was always a big... Well, I wouldn't say... I defended Sarah Palin a lot.
You did. You did. You read her material.
I read her
you
book.
thought highly of her.
Well, I read her book when everyone said, "Oh, I can't read this book. She's a moron." I'm like, "I'll read your book." It wasn't all that bad. I don't know if she wrote it. It didn't really matter.
Who knows who wrote it? I think we know who wrote it. There was somebody that has been identified.
Ever since...
Good book.
Ever since... I don't know, there it is. That's the tongue clacking. Okay, I get it.
You just did it?
Yeah, I'll try and stop that.
Oh, okay.
Ever since... She's had some TV show which looks like it sounds like she's recording it in a hangar, and she's doing these. You've seen this, right? It's the worst miking ever.
Do not get the miking.
It makes no sense to me.
I know what it is. You get a sound. Here's the way it works. You get a sound engineer. He comes in. He goes, "Okay, anybody got a bucket? Yeah, okay. Now put the mic in there. It'll pick up the whole room."
It baffles me, but she's also something has changed with her. This is not the same Sarah Palin who was when she was running on the ticket with McCain, and the way she still has that kind of, she wants to do that cutesy thing, but somehow she's moved into this. It's almost there's a little bit of an Alex Jonesy thing in there. There's certain terms, and she's doing a lot off the cuff. I think she may be high. Or maybe she's drinking. I don't know. Maybe everything feels very strange about how she's speaking and how she is addressing people. And this is the Value Voters Summit, which I have no idea what that is.
The Value Voters Summit, I almost had a clip from it because...
I have a clip here.
Well, did you get the clip?
Yeah, I got the clip. I'm going to play the clip.
Of Rand Paul?
No, I'm going to play the Sarah Palin clip.
I never heard the Sarah Palin clip. I was just saying
you'll like it.
I had a clip of Rand Paul where he said that I'll get the clip because it's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Go on.
Well, you were going to...
Anyway, it's a Christian meetup.
And here she is, and this was just... she must be high, she's drunk, or something else is very wrong with this woman.
Pulling the race card. How much longer do you think they're going to? Oh, it's just it's
already you're incoherent, woman.
Not even smart. It's not even smart when one simply wants our government to live within its means and to not tax us to and beyond death, not to mortgage our kids' future, and that being for today's selfish wants. Because of that, we're racist? Well, what isn't smart?
I am.
Wait for it.
Is when they try to slap that on Colonel Alan West and Dr. Ben Carson and J.C. Watts and Raphael and Ted Cruz and my husband, Todd Palin. Those truly prejudiced folks, just remember this, that they scream racism our way just to end debate. Well, don't retreat. You reload with truth, which I know is an endangered species at 1400 Pennsylvania Avenue anyway, truth.
Okay, now, I don't understand how that happens.
What?
The White House is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay.
And she says 1400.
Yes, she did.
That can only happen if you're high. But how can this mistake be made from someone who ran on the ticket? How can you? I don't understand how that happens.
She could be drunk. It sounds like from the beginning she was slurring a little bit.
I think she's drunk.
Then she pulled herself together, which I would give her some points for that. Because you go, I see it, the way I see it, it's possible. But the thing that bothers me about her the most to this day is that screechy. She has a screechy, annoying voice, and it just grates on you. I think that really had a huge impact on the response to her.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, some people have been gone. Like perhaps people who went to a lot of metal concerts. They're deaf, and they can't. Maybe you can't hear those high notes, but. Generally speaking, I think normal ears that haven't been damaged by rock concerts will be great. They grates on people.
There's something is like very wrong with it. And she says things like, "Oh, the lamestream media." That's
lame.
We don't even do that. You don't talk the lamestream media.
It's
stupid.
It's a short, dumb thing that.
But I've never found this woman to be dumb. I've never labeled her as dumb, and I find that horribly misogynistic of anyone who has done that in the past. And I'm calling some other thing, some chemical dependency or some brain. There's something is wrong with her. She needs help. That's different than saying you're just stupid.
Maybe she likes to drink.
Well, hey, I tried it. It didn't work out for me. But
no, well, you can't drink anyway. It's terrible.
I'm a horrible drinker.
No, glass and a half of wine, done. And the guy is like 6'3".
It's 5'17" to be precise. So right now as we've already discussed, the president is in kill mode, which is fabulously interesting. A lot of non sequitur, really not even information being bandied about that is just telling us nothing. Really gives us no information at all about what is happening with this coalition. I hear a lot about. Of course, I read a lot of foreign publications, and the Dutch are very proud of these 6 F-16s they're sending. Woohoo! I know.
That is so sad.
The Belgians are sending some stuff. Denmark is sending F-16s.
Waffles.
Sending waffles. Well, you know what we always say about the Belgian Air Force. It didn't take off because they ran out of coal. That's just that's what the Dutch say. That's
the Dutch. Everyone's racist against the poor Belgians.
But then our president he did his little podcast there, and holy crapola, man! The only thing that was missing was our dressing of the programming. They don't do this right. You know, if you do a show, you know, it's like we got our stuff. You know, we always gonna be like, hey,
it's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
That's, you know, now you're ready for a show. And he just says, hi, everybody. No, that doesn't work. You got to start your show. Here's how he starts.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, what he's about to say is phenomenal. Please listen to what the president has to say.
American leadership is the one constant in an uncertain world.
Just so you know. Hello, world. Just want you all to listen up for a moment.
We're the boss. We're the boss.
We're the boss.
That was true this week.
It was true this week.
We mobilized the world to confront some of our most urgent challenges.
We mobilized the world. Hello, world. Time to mobilize, because we say so. I apologize, world, for the arrogance that you are now that is not being spewed upon you.
America's leading the world in the fight to degrade and ultimately destroy the terrorist group known as ISIL.
The terrorist group known as ISIL. What is this, Prince? So soon it will be the terrorist group formerly known as ISIL. You watch, you could mark it on your calendar. This is going to happen. And when he does this, he does this pointy thing with both his hands, known as ISIL. I'm doing it now. You can't see it, but it's when you point your fingers, go doom, doom, doom. Known as ISIL. Thank you, President.
On Monday, our brave men and women in uniform began airstrikes against ISIL targets in Syria.
Notice that our brave men and women did that because no other country has the balls to bomb Syria. They know what's going to happen. They know who's behind this. Yeah, there's Iran, Russia. No one's doing it. We're doing that. No one else is doing that.
And they weren't alone.
Oh.
I made it clear that America would act as part of a broad coalition. And we were joined in this action by friends and partners, including Arab nations.
Let's not specify who.
At the United Nations in New York, I worked to build more support for this coalition.
He's so awesome.
To cut off terrorist financing and to stop the flow of foreign fighters into and out of that region.
Mm-hmm.
And in my address to the UN, I challenged the world, especially Muslim communities, to reject the ideology of violent extremism.
This is what we identified. Very troubling. Really connecting this to Muslim Islam. Very, very troubling.
And to do more to tap the extraordinary potential of their young people. America is leading the effort to rally the world against Russian aggression in Ukraine.
We rock. And notice we're putting Russia right up there with ISIL. It's not a mistake.
Associated.
Along with our allies, we will support the people of Ukraine as they develop their democracy and economy. And this week, I called upon even more nations to join us on the right side of history.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. We just heard that meme about Holder.
Mm-hmm.
America's leading the fight to contain and combat the Ebola epidemic in West Africa.
You have to stop a second. We have to start watching this now. The right side of history is obviously a meme.
Well, they've been going on for a while.
Yeah, I know it's been going on for a long time, but we've never commented on it.
We have.
Well, it's used as a differentiator for an agenda.
Yeah.
If you're on this side of the agenda as opposed to the other side, whatever it is, you are on the right side.
Yeah.
Says who?
I think Hillary Clinton started this, the right side of history business.
Maybe. Yeah. It would sound like her.
But I just want you to know.
All right, you can go on.
I want people to know. If you are from a different country other than America and you see me, I want you to get on your knees and thank me.
Yeah.
Kiss my ring.
Kiss your ring. Do you have a ring?
Yes, a big night ring. Because when you're in shit, you call us.
Support the people of Ukraine as they develop their democracy and economy. And this week, I called upon even more nations to join us on the right side of history. America's leading the fight to contain and combat the Ebola epidemic in West Africa.
We kick ass. We are so cool.
We're deploying our doctors and scientists, supported by our military, to help corral the outbreak and pursue new treatments. From the United Kingdom and Germany to France and Senegal, other nations are stepping up their efforts too, sending money, supplies, and personnel. And we will continue to rally other countries to join us in making concrete commitments to fight this disease and enhance global health security for the long term. America is engaging more partners and allies to confront the growing threat of climate change before it's too late.
My goodness, is there no end to how awesome we are? There's just no end. This world would be dead without us.
Did you, by the way, just to interrupt, because he mentioned Ebola, you find it peculiar?
I got a whole bunch of Ebola.
We've had. Oh, you have a bunch of Ebola stuff?
Don't distract me from it.
Okay,
we'll go to Ebola in a minute.
Keep going.
We're doing our part in helping developing nations do theirs. At home, we've invested in clean energy, cut carbon pollution, and created new jobs in the process.
I think we stepped on it. He says something very funny. I'll roll it back for a second.
Doing our part in helping developing nations do theirs.
It's a little further. Here it is.
Long term. America is engaging more partners and allies to confront the growing threat of climate change before it's too late.
Did you hear that? Before it's too late.
Oh, yeah, no, before it's too late. Yeah, it's always before it's too late. It's forever before it's too late.
But I don't know if it's an ad lib because he sticks it in there in a very strange cadence.
Play it again.
Before it's too late.
Hold on.
No, it's on this prompter.
America is engaging more partners and allies to confront the growing threat of climate change before it's too late.
I'm afraid. When is it too late?
No, it was in there.
I don't want it to be too late.
We're doing our part in helping developing nations do theirs. At home, we've invested in clean energy, cut carbon pollution, and created new jobs in the process.
But you better watch out.
Abroad, our climate assistance now reaches more than 120 nations.
A climate assistance?
What is that?
Hello, I'm from the United States of America Climate Assistance Agency. I'd like to offer some assistance.
And on Tuesday, I called on every nation, developed and developing alike, to join us in this effort for the sake of future generations.
Yes, children.
The people of the world look to us to lead, and we welcome that responsibility. We are heirs to a proud legacy of freedom. And as we showed the world this week, we are prepared to do what is necessary to secure that legacy for generations to come.
Yes! Yes!
Thanks, and have a great weekend.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, and the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
You may kiss my ring. We are the best.
Being very harsh on Obama.
Well, I'm sorry. It is embarrassing. It is just embarrassing. I find it abhorrent.
Yeah, well, you apparently do. All right, Ebola, go.
No. Wow, don't you want to do caliphate? You want to do Ebola?
Oh, if we're going to do caliphate, unless you want to do
Ebola.
No, I want to do caliphate. I have to.
Well, you can't do caliphate without.
Caliphate!
There we go. I'm ready. All right, I'm good to go. Caliphate.
First of all, we have. I watched some of the House of Commons, and there's 40 people there that said no to this crazy, Cameron. Although Ed Miliband is all in, I do have a little Ed Miliband just going all in with the let's go get him.
Order governed by rules, if it is about anything, must be about protecting a democratic state, which is what this motion before us is about. I believe, although this is difficult, it is the right thing to do.
After negotiations with the coalition...
That's good. I don't know how that got in there. Is the Democratic state, is that Syria? Is the Democratic state? It's beyond me. Okay, well, maybe I don't know what they're up to. Here is the House of Commons complainer trying to make a point and just basically being shouted down.
ISIS indeed are made up of murderous psychopaths. That's not the issue. We know that. Iraq, Afghanistan, in this government, Libya, none are success stories. Are we going to embark on action that could last for years?
The fact is, this is about psychopathic terrorists that are trying to kill us, and we do have to realise that whether we like it or not, they have already declared war on us. There isn't a walk-on-by option. There isn't an option of just hoping this will go away.
I saw this too. I saw all of this. I love this. I mean, it's so much more interesting than our phony baloney. Everyone's so correct and quiet.
My colleague who I love.
Oh, I love it when they're just all angry and
they're
stuff.
A little more raucous, that's for sure. The Canadian ones are worse. I wish we had somebody televise that down here. I'm watching this stuff, and they're talking about how are these, they're doing the whole scare us about the number of foreign troops, and I can't tell, by the way, is it Is the total ISIS contingent 30,000, 32,000? Is it 33,000?
Did you see George Galloway?
No, you got George Galloway clip?
Oh my goodness! Well, I was keeping this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, yes. I don't have a clip of it, but play.
It's long, so interrupt when you want. But and he's a backbencher now. I maybe he's always been a backbencher. I don't know, but he's way in the back, and this guy is surprisingly good.
This debate has been characterized by members of parliament moving around imaginary armies. The Free Syrian Army is a fiction which has been in the receipt of hundreds of millions of dollars, huge hundreds of tons of weapons, virtually all of which were taken from them by Al-Qaeda, which is now mutated into ISIL. The Iraqi army is the most expensively trained and most modernly equipped army in history.
And which I saw them in 2004 when I was in Iraq. And it was like Dad's army. It was complete crap, this training they received.
Hundreds of billions of dollars have been expended on the Iraqi army, which ran away, leaving its equipment behind it. ISIL itself is an imaginary army. A former defense secretary, no less, said we must bomb their bases.
See, I think you'd like this because you're of the same opinion. This is such bull crap. Where's their navy? Where are their ships?
They don't have any bases. The territory they control is the size of Britain, and yet there's only between 10 and 20,000 of them. Do the maths.
See, I love this.
Yeah,
you're someone talking sense.
They don't concentrate as an army. They don't live in bases. And the only way a force of that size could successfully hold the territory that they hold is if they have a population which is acting as the water in which they are swimming. And that population is quiescent because of Western policies and Western invasion and occupation. That's the truth of the matter. ISIL could not survive for 5 minutes if the tribes in the west of Iraq rose up against them. Yes, I will.
Now, this is cool because now people are going to start interrupting them because, oh my God, you're not on board with the program, Galloway. What's wrong with you?
Do you understand how appalled people will be to hear him say that women buried alive, women enslaved, are quiescent in their persecution by these people? What a total disgrace!
Total disgrace! Women buried alive. This is a new one, by the way. I hadn't heard women and children
heard this one either.
Buried alive. I like it. It's a good one. It's a good one.
They don't like it up them, Mr. Speaker. They'd rather have an imaginary debate moving around imaginary armies. ISIL is a death cult. It's a gang of terrorist murderers. It's not an army. And it's certainly not an army that's going to be destroyed by aerial bombardment. ISIL is able to rule the parts of Iraq that it does because nobody in those parts has any confidence in the government in Baghdad. A sectarian government helped into power by Bremer and the deliberate sectarianization of Iraqi politics by the occupation authorities. The government knows that. That's why they pushed al-Maliki out.
This guy he's good. I'll give him that.
Even though he won the election, by the way, if we're talking about democracy, they pushed him out because they knew that far too many people in ISIL-occupied Iraq had no confidence in the government in Baghdad. Nobody has any confidence in the army emanating out of Baghdad. So this will not be solved by bombing. Mr. Speaker, we've been bombing Iraqis for 100 years. 100 years. We dropped the world's first chemical bombs on them in the 1920s. We attacked them and helped to kill their king in the 1930s. We helped them. We helped the murder of their president in in 1963, helping the Ba'ath Party into power. We bombed them again through the 90s. Yes.
But that all falls under protecting the world, Mr. Galloway.
Galloway's off. He's gone off the rails.
He goes on.
You have to remember when Saddam invaded Kuwait, and then we took him out, or George Bush thing. Yeah. There was lots of evidence that our State Department gave him the go-ahead to do that.
Sure. Galloway. This is a short clip. Galloway was on. I forget the name of it. It's another TV. It's a chat show on the BBC. And he was on with Jackie Smith, who was the former minister of, was she Jackie Smith? What was she?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, she must have been involved with war somehow.
I remember her.
And you remember her. But she was always sitting next to the prime minister, so she was up there. Do you have it yet? I'm stalling.
Jackie Smith.
Jackie Smith.
British Labour Party. She's the member of Parliament. She was
Was she Secretary of Defense?
I don't see. Home Secretary.
So Home Secretary.
Yeah, that's not Secretary of Defense.
No, but she was in charge of Home.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Secretary of State.
I think. There you go. Well, but here's Galloway on this show, and what he says to her is pretty outrageous, but spot on, I'd say.
But I'm, Jackie, in no doubt at all about your responsibility in this. And 2 million of us on the streets of London told you so at the time. And for you now to try and wash your hands of your share of the responsibility, I'm afraid that's a spot that will not out. All the perfumes of Arabia will not expunge that spot.
And all of your poetry, George, doesn't prevent people from being murdered and massacred in Iraq and Syria at the moment. I'm not washing my hands of what happened in the past.
You killed a million people in Iraq.
That is a separate...
You killed 1 million people in Iraq. It's incredible that you have the brass neck to be sitting here now urging another Iraq war.
George,
after
if
what
I was
you've
still in
done.
Parliament, I would be there tomorrow, living up to my responsibility to answer the call of the Iraqi government and people to help to support them. And the fact that you aren't is something that you will have to live with.
Let me ask a final question to you, George. If not bombing, if not intervention, how do we deal with this cancer?
Give Iraq the weapons that it's already paid for but haven't been delivered. Strengthen the Peshmerga. Strengthen the governments of Iraq and Syria, and ask Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Iran to fight this battle. It's their battle, not ours.
What is this? He mentioned that in his Parliament thing as well. What is this? Iraq paid for some weapons that we haven't delivered?
I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, I honestly,
I know one thing that I picked up from RT is that a lot of the bombing, I believe a lot of the bombing in Syria, besides, as somebody said, it's really just to go in there and still, get Assad out. But we seem to be targeting a slew of Abrams tanks. This according to the Russians. And I think that these Abrams tanks, which we obviously shipped over there, and I guess there's some in Iraq too, it's an embarrassment because these guys, and I'm sure they can't use the full. I'm sure they're not trained enough to be able to use the tank to its best abilities. I think it's a kick-ass product, but we got to get these tanks out of there because it's a humiliation that ISIS would have American tanks because it looks a little too obvious.
It doesn't look too good, does it? No. As we say, it's bad optics, John. Bad optics.
So they're in there bombing these tanks, which I guess we gave to the Free Syria, gave to somebody that these guys ended up with them.
And I'm still pretty convinced that this is all just a smokescreen to get rid of Assad.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
That seems to be pretty much
This is our goal. Now, the thing that you pointed out earlier, which kind of concerns me, is the missing McCain. And Anyway, I was watching CBS News, the national news, and they've got this new woman who's taken over from Lara Logan, who has been sent out to pasture.
Oh, really?
We'll never see her again for at least 2 or 3 years. Again, this is Holly Williams, and again, it's another British girl that's kind of pretty, and has to be kind of sexy because she's out there in the foreign areas. You know, she's on the border supposedly. I don't believe this, by the way. First they show her, and she's standing out with a desert background, and it looked just like the same green screen they used for the beheadings. And she's standing there yakking away. She's wearing a tight-fitting black blouse and some kind of modern-looking slacks. Slacks in the Middle East. Yeah. Slacks that actually accentuate when she turns around, and we get to see her butt. Oh, so she's doing a stand up, blah 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 blah, and then they show a second shot of her walking towards a village in the middle of nowhere.
Another butt shot,
and it's a butt shot, and she's got a calipigious butt.
Excellent.
And she's walking, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Is this anybody going to believe that a woman no, she's not wearing a head thing. I mean, most of these women at least fake it, and they put the head stuff on, and they wear a flousy dress, and they don't wear not tight enough fitting, butt accentuating pants, and no headgear and big blonde hair.
And where is she supposed to be?
She's supposed to be on the Syrian-Turkey border, where the Kurds are going back, escaping.
This doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right. So she's going to interview a guy who is in this clip, she's going to interview a guy who is a smuggler.
In the war on ISIS today, Britain, Denmark, and Belgium agreed to join the U.S. air campaign. Airstrikes hit tanks and checkpoints in Syria today, and by one estimate, ISIS still has more than 30,000 fighters in Syria and Iraq, many of them from the West or from Afghanistan and Pakistan. So how do they get there? Holly Williams reports from the Turkish border.
Turkey's frontier with Syria is mountainous and 500 miles long, the entry point for thousands of foreign fighters who have come here to join ISIS.
For decades, Turkey's border with Syria has been notorious for smuggling. But now, along with the contraband, smugglers are spiriting people into the war zone.
In one village, we met a man who refused to show his face, but told us he made a living getting people in and out of Syria illegally.
Altogether, how many foreign fighters did you help across the border?
Around 20 or 25 from Chechnya and Indonesia, he told us, and one man who came here from London. Europe's counter-terrorism chief says 1,000 Europeans have joined extremist groups in Syria and Iraq in the last 3 months alone.
Alone.
Yeah, and the fear porn is just everywhere. Australia, it's really rampant. The UK, here in the United States, they're telling military personnel, families of military personnel, they're going to come up to your house, and if you're a family of military personnel, we're going to kill you. You're going to cut your head off. And of course, we had we'll get to that in a moment.
The incident,
yeah. There's so when you question this report, which could easily be done in New Mexico or wherever it is, I'm with you on this, my brother, because and I used to even call myself out as, Curry, now you're really thinking crazy about stuff. But I put nothing past it anymore. Nothing.
No, and this woman, I'm telling you, you cannot be wandering around.
Do that. No, it doesn't work that way.
With tight-fitting pants and a nice butt and no head garb.
So we have Vice.
Why would you do that, especially if this is an area where the ISIS guys are floating around? Those guys are supposedly very, strict. They'd just shoot her.
So Vice pops up. Vice, the TV channel. They always have these very coincidental things. They always have the shot. They've got the crazies, spinning donuts in their tanks. They got all kinds of stuff. And now there's a guy in New York who looks like he should be in a rockabilly band, and he is interviewing a Canadian ISIL fighter who's in Mosul via Skype. And I just had to pull, because I think it's obvious, very easy to fake this. This is no proof of anything. But the messaging is all there. It's everything you want to have.
Hello.
Hi. So
where are you right now, friend?
We're in New York, and you're in Mosul.
Yes, I am.
And the whole setup is, through social media accounts, we were able to set up this Skype call. Really?
How long have you been in Mosul?
About a month.
A month?
I was in Anbar before. I was in Anbar.
How did you get? How do you guys get recruited to go to fight in Syria and Iraq?
No one recruited me. Actually, no one spoke a single word to me.
No.
All I did, I opened the newspaper, I read the Quran. Very easy.
Opened the newspaper, read the Quran, went to Mosul. Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
And
someone actually came to me 5 or 6 days before I left.
In Canada.
He's saying that he was interviewed by the Canadian police 5 or 6 days before he left.
Yeah, and this is the truth. All of their intelligence workers are imbeciles, FBI.
So the Canadian police... CSIS. So CSIS interviewed you about going to Syria, being a terrorist. You said, no, I'm not.
I can't believe how someone that has extremist terrorist ideologies was sitting in front of you and you didn't capture them.
This is really what this is what you're going to say? I can't believe that someone with terrorist ideologies was not stopped by the police and the FBI. They're morons. They're idiots. Okay.
Next time they saw me ripping up my passport.
How many foreign fighters are in Iraq right now?
Stop. I've noticed this before, and this is a tell. I saw this. I forgot to bring it up on the show, but I saw it about maybe about 2 months ago. I first saw it. The American guy was a suicide bomber somewhere or other, and he's ripping up the American passport. These passports to terrorists are extremely valuable.
Yeah, you would not rip this up. I agree. Totally agree.
Never rip up an American passport. You would never rip up a Canadian passport. They would go into the underground and be reused for terrorism. So ripping up the passport itself is bullcrap. So this is a fake. This is phony. This didn't happen. Anytime you see somebody ripping up a passport, this is bogus.
I'm in agreement.
They saw me ripping up my passport.
How many foreign fighters are in Iraq right now fighting for ISIS?
Ooh, upwards of 15,000. Upwards of 15,000. All the new recruits now are coming to Iraq. Walillah alhamd. Planning a very big attacks bidnillah ta'ala. Inshallah, we are.
Whenever he says praise Allah, God, Allah is great. That's what he keeps saying. When you can't understand it, he's saying praise Allah.
Trying to crush the Peshmerga.
The Peshmerga are the Kurdish army.
Yes, this is correct.
So, who are your biggest enemies right now? Who are you fighting right now?
The world.
Right.
Everyone in that coalition that's trying to fight Islam and the Muslims.
Everyone who's trying to fight the Islam and the Muslims, okay?
Many martyrdom operations, alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we'll make some attacks in New York soon, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. A lot of brothers, they're mobilizing right now in the West. Alhamdulillah.
And what are they mobilizing for?
Mobilizing for a brilliant attack, my friend.
Why is no one asking why they're getting so many foreign fighters?
We're tired, you know what I mean? We're tired of oppression. If you leave us alone, we're going to leave you alone.
Right.
We're tired. I don't want to fight. I want to be at home with my family. What did they call America? Land of the brave and home of the free. If you're the land of the brave and home of the free, give us our freedoms. You know, if we want Sharia law, leave us alone.
Okay, so that's the message. Leave us alone. Let us have Sharia law in your country. Which is totally the message that the warmongers want people to hear, because that's what everyone's afraid of, and that's why we need to go kill them.
It makes people more fearful.
Yes. Which is something it's foreign to me. Even though I've lived because I've lived in many different countries, Americans were never fearful. This cower in the corner stuff, this shelter in place.
This is a concern of mine. I've been watching this trend, and the frightening part about it is not that observation. The frightening part about it is, where does it lead? If the American public is constantly cowed into shaking in their boots, fearful that ISIS is going to come up to the door, and they're even propagandizing the military about this and chop off your head or kill your kids, whoever, then they're coming up from the border. They're in Texas now. There's probably one outside your door in Austin. They're all over the place, and they're going to get us. They're going to get us. There's nothing we can do about it because they've got the upper hand, and we need more police powers. We need to protect the public. We have to do all these different things, and it's cowing the American public to the point where I think it's. And there's more to it than that. I mean, I think that there's a wimpification of the public at large, and you see it on television. You see it on the TV shows with pretty much an agenda of the soft male. The kind of, they're not even, you can't even say that they're gay. They're just asexual, whining, wimpy little males. And we got to put more women in power. If you start looking at what women are running in this country, CEO of DuPont is a woman. The CEO of Lockheed Martin is a woman. IBM. The CEO of IBM is a woman. The CEO of Midlands, Daniels, whatever it is a woman. The women,
General Motors.
General Motors is a woman. The women have already busted through the glass ceiling. They run most of the major corporations. The men are all cowering in their boots. We can't have guns on the street. We're going to all, shoot each other if we have guns. So we got to get guns out of the hands of the public because you're going to get killed by somebody with a gun. Vote Democratic. And the whole, if World War II started today, if we could somehow change the structure of history, I don't think we'd go to war. I think we'd just surrender. Let Hitler have the place. He knows how to run things.
And that's the story.
Yeah. It's pussification, which goes along with, I heard the term yesterday, Generation Wuss is the term for the millennials.
This is, again, we brought this up before. The millennials cannot call out someone who cuts in line. They have no mechanism for it. They'll tell you, we don't have a mechanism. We don't know what to do. Somebody cuts in line in front of us, we just stand there like helpless sheep.
And so yesterday or the day before this was propagated, I think we pretty much predicted we would see the copycats and people doing crazy crap. It may not even be true, but when you listen to how Don Citroen, let's call him Don Citroen. Don Citroen from the CNNs with this Oklahoma workplace mishap. It was, and especially when he brings in Martin Savage, it's just, can you make people any more afraid if you tried harder?
So let's talk about beheadings, shall we?
Woo! Hey, John. Let's talk about beheadings.
By the way, can I bring up
Shall
another
we?
point?
And her head is gone.
I'm sorry, yes?
This is the beheadings thing. I was thinking about it. And this is they've always tried to find the scariest thing they can bring up to the public, and there's something creepy about a beheading. And so but if you remember, during the era of this show, the big scary thing was having your throat cut. And all the guys, the journalists from the Wall Street Journal, all these other guys.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
He's going to get his throat cut. He's going to get his throat cut. He's going to get his throat cut. And they pushed the throat cutting thing on the public, trying to scare the public about throat cutting. Yeah. Oh, he's going to have his throat cut. Oh, the guy had his throat cut. Oh, a man in a workplace had his throat cut. That wasn't creepy enough. They said, screw it. We have not heard about throat cutting for 2 years. Right?
Yeah.
Beheading.
Yeah, beheadings.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But so let's just talk about beheadings for a moment. Don Citroen.
So let's talk about beheadings, shall we?
Yes, I think it's a great idea. I haven't talked about beheadings all day.
They're the MO of ISIS militants, not the kind of crime you'd expect to hear in a small town outside Oklahoma City. But now the FBI is investigating after a woman was beheaded while working at a food distribution warehouse. And now we are learning that this ISIS style of killing may...
ISIS style of killing. This is so good. ISIS style of killing.
Not be a coincidence.
It cannot be. Oh, it's not no coincidence. No coincidence. It can't be a coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not.
I'm going to go to CNN's Martin Savage. He is following it all for us. So, Martin, we're hearing that the FBI may be called in to investigate claims that he was trying to convert people to Islam. Obviously, there is a fear of copycat killings by ISIS supporters here.
Fans.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, as you point out, ISIS itself has put out a call to people who may be sympathetic to their cause in these nations that have now joined the coalition to destroy ISIS to launch attacks. So,
really? I didn't hear the call. Did ISIS say go out and cut people's heads off? I didn't hear that, but okay. I didn't hear that, no.
Something like that. There's no doubt that there is that concern, and there are some red flags, as you point out. Yesterday, this was first reported as a workplace dispute.
Yeah, that's what it was, a workplace dispute, until the headline writers got a hold of it. And I think the woman was stabbed in the neck, and maybe stabbed, their head fell off. Shit happens.
And her head is gone.
Yeah, stuff happens. If you stab someone enough, the head will just topple over. It does happen. The human body is frail.
It was a man who had been fired, and it looked at that time like possibly this person had sought revenge by, unfortunately, attacking people where he worked.
Yeah.
However, today we learned that that the first person he attacked was a woman. He not only stabbed her, but beheaded her. And as you point out, these days, anytime you hear that word, you think automatically of terror.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I think of terror all the time.
On top of that, according to authorities, this same person who is now identified as Alton Nolan, 30 years old, is the suspect, that he tried to convert fellow employees at that plant before he was fired to becoming a member of the Islamic faith. So
now, there's no man on the street. There's no nothing about this. There's nothing. I think this is totally made up.
So add those things together, and people are starting to say, wait a minute, maybe this was something inspired, or maybe in some way he was sympathetic to the terrorist causes. That's why the local police have called in the FBI.
Yes.
The FBI now would be looking at this man's social footprint.
A social footprint, John. Look out.
On social media, in other words. Trying to find out, what websites or with whom was he communicating.
Yes.
Was he actually getting orders from somewhere, or was he merely finding these videos that are readily available out there and finding that he liked what he was hearing from ISIS? We don't know.
Hey, I like what I'm seeing there. I think this is good. I think I should behead some people.
Being investigated, but in the heartland of America, it is sending shockwaves across the rest of the country. But it seems that at least on the federal level, they are looking at this as if it's possibly a lone wolf. In other words, someone inspired by ISIS, but not necessarily.
Wait. Hold on.
You got to cut this down shorter. This guy's boring.
There's a reason.
Go.
You already ruined it. Never mind.
Okay, well,
in other words, someone inspired by ISIS, but not necessarily a card-carrying member, not necessarily somebody who was flown to the United States or directed to come here to carry out an assault. Which is really way too early. They are just starting to follow the threat.
Now, do you hear what he says? They are. You stepped on it. You ridicule.
You
ridicule, and you step.
To come here to carry out an assault. It's really way too early. They are just starting to follow the threats, Don.
It's only just begun. That's what I want. It was a long way to go.
Okay, you had a whole setup.
I agree.
And I ruined it for you, which is probably because you didn't tighten it up.
You're right. I fucked it up. You're right.
Because I should have been flat-footed when you brought it.
I know. I fucked it up. It went on too long. Hey, look, what can I say? I had a fever.
It was a good idea.
The idea was there. I tried.
It's good. It would have been hot.
Unfortunately, it just totally sucked now. Thanks.
Yeah, well.
But I still have my backup.
And her head is gone.
I always have that one.
Let's talk about the Chicago thing, because this is a bunch of stuff I need to talk. This is you have an area of expertise on this show.
This is,
But before we do, I have to play another clip from that Scorpion show where they talk about they're going to shoot down all these planes. I'm surprised they didn't shoot down all the planes going to Chicago based on this particular clip.
You know what I'm going to tell you? There was a fourth team tracking the planes via radar, circling over the ocean. fighter jets.
You'll shoot them down.
Same protocol was activated 9/11 to prevent possible ground casualties. Can you think of anything we can do? Contact Director Merrick. Tell him we need to activate the fourth option.
Oh, the fourth option.
That's the one where you shoot down all the planes.
Right. Right.
And so is that what happens? So I'm an airline pilot. I'm coming in. This is the question. I actually wanted to ask this before. I'm flying from London to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say Chicago, but let's say L.A. for this. And I get to near L.A. and they're telling me, across the country, every once in a while somebody checks it. Oh, you're good to They wouldn't, of course, know anything about this L.A. thing to tell me in advance that this was going on and divert me to Portland, but that's okay. Let's just assume that that's true. So now I'm over L.A. I got no radio contact with anybody. None.
And why is this?
20 minutes with, say, half an hour's worth of fuel.
And why? Wait a minute. Why do you have no radio contact?
Because the virus, in this case,
has taken it out. Got it.
Has taken it out, and somehow my radio doesn't work at all. So I got no. But let's just say my radio doesn't work.
Okay.
What do I do? Do I just go over the ocean and let them shoot me down with an F-14?
Well, as an airman, what you're always looking for, even when everything is fine, you're always looking at where can I land. That's part of what you do every 10 minutes. If my engine quit here, where would I land? And you'd be surprised. You can land any aircraft. There's a lot of options. There's more options than you think there would be. It may not be pretty, but you're always thinking, where can I land? Now, with this virus, were the planes, was the aircraft incapacitated?
This was vague.
Mm-hmm. It would have to be.
Because the planes couldn't communicate with anybody. Now, it seems to me
not communicating doesn't mean you can't land the plane.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it's true. And the planes were not incapacitated. They weren't not landable. Their story was so bad. But I was wondering, what would you do? Are you going to go over the ocean like a good boy and get shot down?
No, I'm going to find... No.
This is stupid.
Yeah, I'm going to find a place to land, of course.
And this would have happened in Chicago. So they set us up with this show.
And by the way, the first thing you do is you set your transponder, hoping that someone will be able to read your non-communication transponder setting. There's a number of things you do, which even would include running lights. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you signal that you have no communication capabilities.
Right.
This is not uncommon.
No,
it happens.
It's obviously trained to do these certain things.
But you would be looking, if you have no contact, you're looking to land somewhere. If you're running out of fuel, you're going to land. You're not going to be shot down. You're not going to land in the ocean either. You're going to find a place to land, of course.
And there's plenty of places to land, especially in the L.A. region.
Yeah, I think there's enough opportunities, yes.
Yeah, there's Long Beach, there's Burbank, there's Ontario, there's L.A.
And you're coming in, and the traffic patterns can be very strange and rough, and it's not pretty. But yeah, I would land it.
So this is just bullcrap. We got a note from Chad Biederman, who was in the Chicago event. And he sent us an email. I want to read it. Just thought I'd share my personal O'Hare horror story from yesterday, resulting from the nut job sabotage of the air traffic controller site in Aurora. And we do have one other listener or producer who says it's definitely CIA. And I don't know where he gets that information, but he made it clear that it was a fact. My experience must not be the norm, but for me personally, it was great. I took an international flight from Brussels to Chicago, leaving Belgium at approximately 4:30 in the morning Chicago time, roughly an hour and a half before the fire in Aurora was first reported. About halfway through the flight, the pilot notified us that there may be a delay in arrival because of the fire at one of the air traffic controller centers near Chicago. Seeing how it was a stiff breeze in Cleveland could result in the delay at O'Hare, I just assumed it was a simple electrical fire. However, due to the flight cancellations and the sharp reduction in Chicago air traffic, my plane landed on time. Furthermore, it was clear sailing all the way through customs. The baggage came through in record time, too. It was the single most pleasant arrival experience I've had at O'Hare. The FAA must have had enough time to manually transfer my flights planned to another facility like Indianapolis or Milwaukee so I could return home without delay.
Okay.
By the way, he credits this with karma from the No Agenda show.
Well, obviously. So what is your question?
my question was the previous question. This is the follow-up to the question, which you already answered, which is, what does a pilot do when he's out of communications? Does he go over the ocean and get shot down by a jet? And you answered no.
No.
But that's what they say in this story, this stupid scorpion thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I have two reports from the event on CBS.
But why was it? Okay.
What?
No, I didn't find this very interesting. I don't know what is going on. I do know that they built an entire backup system there that apparently isn't operational or wasn't turned on or.
Well, you didn't think the story was peculiar? I mean, the guy sets the place on fire, stabs himself.
Well, that was not apparent that he stabbed himself.
Well, that's what I'm just telling you the way it's reported.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's reported with all this nonsense, and then they had to shut down the airport for 5 or 6 hours in Midway, and then they have all these reports from the field on the national news, and they're making a big deal about it right after this is CBS reports, right after the same CBS show, Scorpion, shows a similar situation. You don't think this is like a coincidence?
Okay, I got you. I hadn't made the Scorpion connection. Yes. Okay, I got you. I'm with you. What do you got?
Well, I don't have anything. I was asking you. I thought you'd have something because it was your
No, but you have two clips, you said.
Yeah, let's play the clips. CBS report on the fire. This is just the news items.
Today, a man apparently bent on suicide.
Is this the one? Yeah.
Showed us just how fragile and vulnerable the air traffic control system can be.
Okay.
A regional control center outside Chicago was evacuated when an employee of the Harris Corporation, a government subcontractor, allegedly started a fire. He has been identified tonight as Brian Howard. He's been charged with destruction of aircraft facilities, which is a felony. This is a check-in counter at O'Hare Airport where things are slowly getting back to normal tonight, but more than 1,700 flights were canceled. Travelers tried to rebook, but many won't get out until tomorrow or even later. We have two reports, beginning with correspondent Dean Reynolds.
When firefighters arrived on the scene, they found a federal facility in the dark and a 36-year-old man in the basement with burns and self-inflicted stab wounds.
Oh, there you go.
Greg Thomas is the Aurora, Illinois police chief.
At this time, we believe the injured man set the fire and he used some type of accelerant.
All right, now, there's a couple things I'm getting out of this. One is that there's some FAA action going on. They want to modernize or God knows what. And the other one is there's the messaging that we've heard for a couple of years now. Subcontractors are bad.
Well, that is what I got immediately from it. And I was immediately thinking sabotage from one subcontractor to another, that kind of thing. Or maybe showing that the backup system that was put in place doesn't work right, or trying to make someone else look bad, or perhaps an entire event that just didn't work out.
Which I would be thinking in terms of, because of the follow-up when they did the second part, which is the part 2 of this clip. I have never seen a news conference, especially on something that just happened, with a news organization using a 3-camera shoot.
On location?
Yes, at the news conference.
There was no...
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to ring the bell when they change cameras and angles.
This is
never done.
Huh.
There was no explosion.
Police confirmed that this vehicle being towed from the lot at the FAA facility belongs to Brian Howard of nearby Naperville, Illinois, who is now hospitalized in stable condition. And hours after the incident, law enforcement officers converged on an address in Naperville believed to be Howard's home. Howard was identified as a contract employee of the FAA with the necessary clearance to be in the highly secure building. John Lehman is the Aurora Fire Chief.
Chief, do you know if he surrendered without incident, or did he resist, or was he a threat to the first responders?
He was lying on the ground. They encountered him. They attempted to get him out of the building. There was some degree of effort on their part to drag him out of the building, but he was conscious.
Okay,
Dean.
They went to Correspondent Dean with a shot on him. Then he was like signaled. He was like, there's a bunch of press guys, and they put this camera on the guy as a specialized question. And as soon as he finishes the question, camera number 2 hits the chief of police from the straight on shot, answering the question. And in the middle of his answer, a third camera goes to a side shot of him and the press corps.
Reynolds, now the police are stressing that this is an isolated incident with no connection to terrorism, but an isolated incident with endless implications.
All right, so what you are implying, speaking of implications, is that this is a multiple angle psychological operation.
Well, what I'm implying is that this was set up to be a big deal.
I agree with that.
You have a 3-camera shoot at the press conference.
Right.
Which turns out not to be a big deal. Somebody dropped the ball on this thing. I have no idea. Or the beheading at the mall or whatever, or that workplace maybe have taken. This didn't work out, is what I'm saying.
I agree with that. I agree.
First, they set it up with the scorpion nonsense, and then they try to do whatever they're trying to do here. I don't know what it was, and then because they were all established, they were ready to go with a 3-camera shoot, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's worse.
And then we get nothing. So I think we just dodged a 6-week bullet of some sort.
Okay. Well,
now, and while on that topic, since I'm going to just take over for a second, the 6-week bullet dodge, I think they've been dropping the ball on a lot of stuff, and I think maybe because Mueller's gone. And they don't know who took his team with him or something. They haven't been able to get any of these things to click.
Well, the guy running the show is talking about donuts all day long. I mean, what do you expect?
He's a cop. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Now, this is the story that started 2 weeks ago. It was a complete dud, and now they're trying to get it off. This is the one where the Pennsylvania manhunt. This is the Pennsylvania manhunt follow-up. They can't find the guy.
Right.
They shut down a whole town because of this guy on the loose. He's going to kill everybody. And this went nowhere, and this is now they're trying to get out of the story.
Just across the river from us here in the state of Pennsylvania, the manhunt for a suspected sniper and cop killer has hit the 2-week mark now. Tonight, Eric Freen remains on the loose, but police today said they have found new evidence left behind. We get a late report tonight from NBC's Ron Allen.
A very stark example today of how daunting this manhunt is. A huge tactical team scoured the massive Buck Hill Inn, one of the largest resorts in the Poconos. 900,000 square feet, 9,600 acres, abandoned some 20 years ago, and now haunted by ghosts, according to local legend. Police say they had information Freen has spent some time at the site, but no sign of him. Police have found evidence on a computer hard drive that Freen planned his escape for years, researching topics such as how to avoid manhunts, police technology, survival skills. They also believe he experimented with explosives and may have set up booby traps in the woods where he's been hiding for 2 weeks.
You've not said you're closing in still. Do you think you are?
I believe we're close. I believe he's in the area, and I believe it's a matter of time until we apprehend him.
Police say they're still finding clues, items hidden or discarded by Freen, but there hasn't been a possible sighting in almost 3 days. They're convinced he's still in the area.
Are you concerned about going in there?
Yes. And residents around here hope this nightmare in their neighborhood soon ends. Ron Allen, NBC News, Blooming Grove, Pennsylvania.
Dud.
Yeah, and it appears to be part of your overarching theme today. Just keep the people afraid of everything. The boogeyman's under your bed. He's around the corner. He's going to take your head off. He's going to take your kid's head off. Your flight is going to get shot down over the ocean. And this, of course, is the moment when I need to remind everybody that the Smith-Mundt Act, which forbade the American government from propaganda against its own people, was overturned in the 2013 National Defense Authorization Act. And this may very well be a part of the propaganda that is intended and now no longer illegal or unlawful against the American people. I don't see many other explanations for this type of behavior.
I don't either. And I think your Smith-Mundt reference, I think, needs to be repeated.
Well, that's why I do it.
Yes, well, you should continue until people realize that this is connected to what we're seeing in the news.
I wanted to take our break here, and I realized looking at the spreadsheet, we got really lucky today with our Insta Nights and a number of other Knights and Dukes coming in. The list for our donors above 50 is quite short.
Yes.
And I've been, as you know, preparing for the future. which you might want to consider as well. You never know what's going to happen.
I have property.
Well, yes, that's true. I don't have any property, but I have no ownership. I have ownership of crappy cars is what I have.
Yeah, well, I've got that too.
I have little.
Although my car's not crappy.
I think that's my cough. Ever since I was in your car, all that dust. I think that's what happened.
You had this cough for a while,
and as I was thinking, now I don't think I've shown it to you, but they made a great video for me for my 50th birthday, and it contained a number of things I'd done throughout about my career. It's always fun to embarrass somebody. There was one real cringe-worthy moment in there, which and this happened in 1985. It was a huge concert called the Rock Night. I believe this was with INXS and INXS was the headline. I don't remember everybody. It was at the Rotterdam Ahoy, which is I think a 5,000 seat venue. And I was the host of the show. It was live TV. And I'll play this short clip for you. Very cringeworthy for me when it was presented to me during my birthday party. But I'm very happy I have it now. Okay. For when Plan B has to go into effect, and I'm going to say, for years I lived amongst the climate change deniers.
Well, you didn't know.
No, I knew it, but you
weren't awakened.
I was living dangerously.
Yes.
And then I was reawakened, mind you, and I discovered the error of my ways, and now I can help fight climate change and fight the deniers.
I see.
And when someone says, "Oh, that's bull crap," I say, "Oh, please, let me take you back in history to prove to you.
You've always been on board."
To the Veronica Rock Night 1985. And as you may or may not know, tonight we're rocking for Greenpeace.
How embarrassing is that?
That's bad.
We're rocking for Greenpeace, everybody. Woo!
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, on No Agenda.
We do have some people to thank for rocking for Greenpeace, including Jonathan Vaughn in Fairfield, Illinois, at 12345. One of my favorite donations. We have another doublet of 12345s again, which is interesting to me. First time donation, he says. Each episode of late has been excellent. Puts a skip in my step each Thursday and Sunday. Keep up the great work. Would like to call out Alan and Alan.
Oh.
And Jordan.
Douchebag.
And Jordan.
Douchebag.
For not donating. Okay.
There you go.
Good work.
All right. Thank you.
Joel. I think there's Bueller. I can't. There's a missing letter.
I don't have it on my spreadsheet either.
It's a PayPal. They don't use Unicode and you don't get the numbers.
It's a double byte encoded
It's
error.
probably Bueller or Bueller. One of the two. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Erlenbach, Switzerland, Swiss. I do not have the feeling that I really have to contribute. I mean, there are enough donors out there, right? Apparently not.
No.
Then I listened to the show 493. Here is my money. What are we doing at 493?
Well,
Remember show 493, he says. He says you must listen and give money.
493?
That's a while back.
Yeah. But is that where he is on the spectrum? He's at 493.
No, I guess maybe he's either catching up or he's just randomly going back. I have no idea.
Well, if you give me a second, I can just look at 493 and I can tell you what it was, but that's rather...
While you're doing that, I'll continue. Angela Castaneda in Henderson, Nevada, nice town, $111. Gareth Butler in Buckinghamshire in the UK. And he thanks you for $99.99. For you for the Schiphol.
Oh, yeah. I need to mention something about the Schiphol Airport Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Schiphol Airport in the last 3 weeks has now decided to make all Wi-Fi free. So it has been a great run, and I like it still being up. Since
it might be faster.
It may be faster, but also people need to understand we only have this at Schiphol Airport. for some reason, I don't know how this happens. People say, hey, can I have the No Agenda airport Wi-Fi? I'm in Denver. No.
People don't pay careful attention.
They really don't. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in London. Can I have the Wi-Fi? No, we only have one for one airport.
Yeah, we're not that big. Sir Brian Ferguson, the Baron of Costa Mesa in Foothill Ranch, California, 7777. Celebrate our anniversary. Sir Christopher Walker.
I forgot to say Angela Castaneda is, of course, in Lost Wages. She is going to be hooking up with Foley. Oh. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sir Christopher Walker in Hortonville, Wisconsin, 7777. John Anderson, 7777 in Youngsville, Louisiana.
And that's for Sack of Sevens for our 7th anniversary, coming up on the 26th of October.
Yes, coming soon. Stuart Rushing at Corvallis, Oregon, 7777. 6969 from Christopher Pusateri, I guess. Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, 6660 from Curtis Smith in Corrigan, Texas. Keith Gibson, Holly Springs, North Carolina, 6550. Joshua Mandel in Greenville, North Carolina. And he's highlighted on here, always because there's no note. 6452. Werner Bogula in Hamburg, Deutschland, 5533.
I think the highlight means that you do have a note.
No.
No, okay.
I do not have a note.
All right.
I only have one note left, and it's from our friend, the anonymous lesbian.
Oh.
Tim Schallberger in Bend, Oregon, 5510.
After the hatchet job on Adam to make him look like the crypt keeper, I had to donate. Thank you.
Good. These things pay off. Eric Hokel in Berlin, Deutschland, 52. I want to thank him. He must be a sir by now. We got to get that right. Sir Jeffrey Gerlach, a Viscount, actually, of the area, my area. You need some job karma at the end. I don't know how that happened, but we'll get him some right at the very end. It's the Lincoln. He's not in Lincoln. He's in Concord, as far as I know. Renee, or Lafayette, I believe. Renee Worley in Almere, Netherlands.
Almere. Yep.
You notice I just yell louder. I think
it worked.
It's like the Americans. Si, senor.
Je m'en fous.
David Hahn. Now, these are all 50s. David Hahn in Hartford, Wisconsin. Marian Avila in the Philippines somewhere. David Dural in Front Royal, Virginia. Peter Totes, Sir Peter Totes, as far as I know.
Yeah, people put that on your notes when you send it in, because it's hard for us to track that. We're just doing this from memory, so please put your titles on your correspondence.
Ross Turpin in Troy, Kansas. Gerald Inabinet in Nabinet, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unusual name. Union, South Carolina. Shad Rich and Bendigo in Seattle, Washington. Michael Towen in Hayden, Idaho. Anonymous lesbian.
There we go.
He does have a note. I will read. I always enjoy reading her notes because she's the anonymous lesbian.
And she has a crush on you.
Yeah, she does. And she reiterates that in this note. And this is the actual note. Blah, 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 violin. Blah, 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 have a crush on John. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think Adam is kind of great, too, in spite of him getting a little whiny in his old age.
What? I'm not whiny.
And her head is gone.
I'm not whiny.
Yes, anyway, that's according to Eric. JCD has love letter. Sir Mark Tanner in Whittier, California is our last donor for show 656. We hope to get some more people involved in show 657 coming up on Thursday. Go to Dvorak.org/NA, channeldvorak.com/NA, No Agenda Show, and NoAgendaNation.com. Both have buttons you can push if you can't get to Dvorak.org/NA. Thanks.
Dvorak.org. I'm sorry.
They're lesser. I'm
sorry.
Lesser donors. We got a couple $49 donors and
$4. So what we need to do now, though, is we need to do the jobs karma. That's what I almost forgot.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
There we go.
You've got karma.
Be one for today. Brian Hall, Sir Fudge Mountain, says happy birthday to his friend M, who turns 40 today. Happy birthday from your friends here at the best podcast in the universe. And now, 2 Instanites. Very happy to do this. Always nice. So we'll get our blades at the ready, sir. Hello, sir. Hello. Yes, there it is. Terry Stalley and Kurt Winkemuller, step on up to the podium, please. Both of you have contributed to the best podcast in the universe. In matter of $1,000 more, you are now Instanites, so I hereby am very proud to pronounce thee Sir Terry, the cheap bastard of Mobile Bay, and Sir Kurt of Team Winky. Gentlemen, for you, we have hookers and blow rent boys and Chardonnay, puppies and port, porn stars and pot, bad science and perky breasts, opium and warm orange juice, hot librarians and Jaeger bombs, 3 geishas and a bucket of fried chicken, hot pants and booze, vodka and vanilla. Or maybe some mutton and mead. See, I made another selection there. You see,
yes, I noticed.
It's on the fly is how I do it.
Fantastic.
That's right. Go to noagendanation.com/rings. Pick them up. And, of course, we'll have Eric the Shill send that out to you ASAP. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you. Thank you for everybody who participates in the program. Everybody is, by default, a member of our global intelligence network. You know, we are Uber Public Radio. This is exactly what it is.
Yep. Nope. We are public radio. Modern public radio.
Uber.
Independent Uber public radio.
We are the Uber. Independent Uber. Or something like that.
Yeah, well, something.
Did you want to do Ebola still, or you want to keep that for Thursday? Because I think Ebola will be around.
I don't have any. I do have something interesting. No, I think we can hold off on Ebola. I still have a bigger report to put together.
Oh, I have. I'm sorry. Stop. I have something that is for you. I saved it for you. I need to do this for you. It's a 2-parter. One is the FBI releases its statistics. You may have heard this. It's been floating around for a day or two. The FBI always has the statistics of deaths and murders and other types of crimes throughout the United States. And for 2012, in Connecticut, if you go to the page is, of course, in the show notes at 656.nashownotes.com. If you go to Connecticut, then go to Newtown, and you go to the column for murder and non-negligent manslaughter for 2012, what should the number be?
I don't know. How many was there? How many were killed? 26?
I think that was the number, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So it should be 26 or more. No, wait. No, it has to be at least 26. That's what it was. It was more than 26.
Yeah. The number is 0.
What?
The number is 0.
How can the number be 0?
Yeah, the number is 0.
They screwed that one up.
Yeah. The number is 0. And I'm looking at the live page now, so it hasn't changed. The number is still 0. And as a part of this...
Maybe you had the year wrong. Maybe it's 2013.
No, it was December 2012.
Okay.
Didn't they have the 12-12? What was that? Wasn't that didn't they have that thing, 12-12?
I remember the 12-12
I think 12-12, wasn't that a number?
To get the people to join a club or something. 12-12. Was that it?
They had a thing.
Let me look it up.
I think it was
I don't believe you.
It's 2012. I'll look at other. So in Connecticut, there were other deaths. So Hartford, Connecticut, 23 murders. What else do we have? Bridgeport, 22.
You look up Newtown, and it just doesn't really have much going on here. Newtown shooting, June 2013 is the report. What's it say? They have to backdate. Maybe it'll come up in the 2013 stats.
I don't know, but that would be my guess. But this leads into another report. Now, of course, we know Adam Lanza, who was the suspected
maniac
perpetrator. Yes, maniac. There are a couple of things that we know about him. One was he was a maniac. He was crazy. He was withdrawn. Gun-toting. His mom gave him guns. But he was also homeschooled.
Oh, yeah, we can't have that.
This week, the Sandy Hook Advisory Commission released a draft recommendation saying if parents choose to homeschool children with social and emotional challenges, they would have to have an education plan approved by the special education director in that town. Hamden Mayor Scott Jackson is the chairman of the commission and says the additional oversight is aimed at making sure kids with mental health problems are getting the help they need.
We as a community have to watch out for every child. And one of the ways we do that is when they're in the school buildings. But we can't forget the young men and women who are not inside those buildings.
We have to pay attention when you're not in the Schule. When you're not in the Schule, you may be up to no good.
Donna says it's not the answer, but she wants the state to prove the Newtown school shooter was homeschooled. She says it's likely he had a home-based education through the school system and still fell through the cracks. The state's attorney's report says Adam Lanza attended a combination of public school classes, homeschooling, and tutoring. Mayor Jackson says regardless of Lanza's education, their job is to look for gaps.
Yeah, it is controversial. It creates a change. But isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, the shooting was December 14th, 2012. So here's the meeting. What are we going to do? We're trying, hey, Bill, what? We've got this report we're working on, and we got an anomaly here. We have to keep these numbers going lower, and we don't have the Sandy Hook numbers. We didn't put them in. Well, there were no numbers. Well, that may be true, but we should have to put them in because somebody's going to notice. No, nobody's going to notice. Just put them in 0. It's fine. We got to keep our numbers down. Those aren't real numbers anyway. Just go with the 0, which is accurate. You can't go wrong by being accurate. Okay. And indeed, nobody notices.
And so there's...
In fact, I'm surprised you noticed.
Well, a lot of people...
noticed. You got me on that one.
Yeah.
Nobody noticed. Nobody cares.
So there, of course, are debunk sites out there with all kind of very complicated explanations of how this happened and how these numbers were not in there. Okay, fine. Sure. All right. I'll take it. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yes.
I don't have enough time to look at it right now.
Meanwhile,
uh-oh. I hate it when you start off like that.
There's some good crap going on that you weren't paying any attention to, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I'm very disappointed in you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Global Citizen Festival.
Oh, crap. How could I have missed it? Where's my invitation?
And you missed out because I caught the beginning of it. It was co-sponsored by some operation called Kick, the Global Citizen, the MSNBC and NBC. It's all in it together. And here are the that guy, that Chris Hayes and some other geek and somebody else from MSNBC hosting the event on a dais, and then they get Frank Sinatra's kid in the back to interview, of all people, someone you should know, Tiesto.
Wait, where is this being held? In New York?
In New York, and they got the new mayor, because they haven't done any big concerts on the major big giant lawn where Simon and Garfunkel sung.
Yeah.
They haven't had one concert since then. And now they get the new mayor who's all in with MSNBC. They allowed these guys to put on a concert. And here's a little background on it. You can play this.
So much coming up, including live performances from No Doubt, Carrie Underwood, Fun, Tiesto, Alicia Keys, The Roots, and Jay-Z.
The intrepid Ronan Farrow is backstage with Tiesto. Ronan, what a get. We're just in the first 15 minutes of the show. What do you got for us, my friend?
The good sources for you guys. Be thankful. Tiesto, are you excited about tonight? You've seen this crowd. What is different about the energy out here tonight?
Well, it's a very special occasion, to be in Central Park and to play with so many great artists. It's going to be amazing, I think.
Amazing.
And what inspired you to get involved in something that's musical, yes, but also about some more substantive issues?
Well, I've been very lucky in my life with always meeting the right people at the right time and to get a break. And it's really important for me to give back. And what I see what Global Poverty does for the world and the Childhood Foundation is amazing, and I want to be part of it.
So talk about that. You've transitioned from working on music to working with this group, the World Childhood Foundation. Why?
Well, I met the people personally behind it, and I met Queen Sylvia and Princess Madeleine from childhood, and they told me.
And they'll be here tonight?
They will be here tonight, and they told me all about it, and they were so passionate about it, and I wanted to get involved and to give the youth a better chance to be successful and to keep them safe, and also the Global Poverty Foundation,
So what do you say, Tiesto, to people who say, oh, this is stars showboating, this isn't really substantive, this isn't what we need to add to the conversation?
I think they're wrong. I met the organization from this whole thing.
Who is this guy?
Well, of course, he's a colleague. I'm DJ Terezzo, and he is DJ Tiesto. He's a DJ, club DJ, and he's very famous, very popular. This guy must be doing $20 million a year minimum, and he just travels around the world, mainly private jets, just from one gig to the next, just spinning records.
You could be doing this.
Yeah, it could be. I'd be doing it for Greenpeace though, which would be a little different.
Yeah, no, you would be. Well, you might be at the global citizen thing. They're going to eliminate extreme poverty.
Yeah.
This has been very successful in the past. I think Hands Across America, as I was going to eliminate homelessness.
It's funny because now I will play this. You've taken me there. We have to go. We have to go into Ebola.
You opened up the line.
Yeah, you've opened it up. We're now into Ebola. There you go. There was a 20-minute piece on NPR on Planet Money about the lack of fundraising for Ebola. 20 minutes. I've cut it down to just a few, which I think by itself is a feat. The woman in this, I don't listen to Planet Money regularly. I don't know if she's
on. I've heard of the show.
Planet Money, yeah, it's a pretty popular, and it's a money show. The woman who is on, now on one hand, I like it because her voice is so recognizable, her tone, the way she speaks is, you can pick her out of 1,000. She could be doing Toyota commercial voiceovers because it's very, very recognizable. But it's also one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard.
Oh.
So the crux of this is no one's raising money for Ebola. Why not? And as this whole thing goes all the way through to the end, no one's doing anything. People are dying. They interview people from Liberia, everyone. Why? No one cares. And it's obvious they're trying to get something started to cover up the fact that it's either bogative or it is just a new way of economic hitman taking over a country. And listen to her.
I've been thinking a lot about Ebola.
Oh, yeah, she's perfect. This is a voiceover voice.
I've been thinking a lot about Ebola.
Recently. I read all the news about it. It is a horrible, fascinating epidemic. There are thousands dead in West Africa.
It's fascinating how many are dead in West Africa.
And I guess I've been a little surprised at how little action I see around this terrible disaster.
Yeah, it's in all of the newspapers, on all of our radio programs, and yet no one has texted me with, donate to Ebola relief, send this code back.
There's no big benefit concert with Elton John, Lady Gaga, John Legend singing for Ebola.
No huge Twitter campaign. Hashtag Stop Ebola.
I called up some charitable organizations that deal with disasters, and they say, yeah, there has not been a lot of money coming in to help with...
A lot of money coming in.
With Ebola.
We all remember
We have to say it like that. Ebola. How's the Ebola doing for Ebola?
Big fundraising campaigns after huge disasters. But listen to these numbers. When there was an earthquake in Haiti, $1.4 billion came.
Hold on a second. That's just what Clinton stole. It was $10 billion. They're very revisionist here in your history. But also, we had this take place.
We just need cash. I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
Now remember, this was a almost 20-minute piece on NPR about Ebola.
Into charities. The tsunami 10 years ago that hit Indonesia raised $1.6 billion. But when something like Ebola happens, so far people have been looking the other way.
Clearly, the problem with raising money for Ebola is not the severity of the disaster.
Do you think he's from Buffalo or something?
Because
no, but it's very funny.
Ebola is horrible. It is scary and wretched and miserable. It is gross. You're in terrible pain. You bleed from everywhere and you die quickly.
I got to isolate. Remind me to isolate that bit.
You should definitely
tell me about Ebola.
That hit Indonesia raised $1.6 billion.
Tell me about Ebola.
But when something like Ebola happens,
Give me on
so
Ebola.
far people have been looking the other way.
Can I have a couple of ounces of Ebola? Tell me about your Ebola.
Clearly, the problem with raising money for Ebola is not the severity of the disaster.
No.
Because Ebola is horrible. It is scary and wretched and miserable.
Okay,
It is
we
gross.
have to stop. We must have some linguists out there that understand accents and their regionalism aspects and where they're from. Somebody who listens to this show has to know where this accent comes from. You might be right. It could be Rochester, New York. It could be some part of Long Island. I don't know. But I now am so curious because it's an accent. It's a strong accent, but I can't identify it. It's definitely back east.
What is her name? Well, someone's gonna look. It's almost over. This Ebola.
You're in terrible pain. You bleed from everywhere, and you die quickly. The people on the ground there, it's mostly Doctors Without Borders, they are overwhelmed.
Which is what amazes me.
So far, no mention of the 3,000 combat troops we have there to fight Ebola.
Right? These supplies, these people, the money needed to do all these things has not yet shown up in West Africa. And without all these things, without the money, without the supplies, without the people.
What do you mean without the money? Hundreds of millions of dollars we're spending. Why is this on NPR?
The situation's getting worse.
So how do you...
Sorry?
It's a setup.
Yeah,
Something's going to roll.
Yeah, it's a setup.
Get people to give in this situation. Like, this is something that charities are thinking about all the time. Yeah, the CDC just released this remarkable number. They said if nothing is done to slow down Ebola, 1.4 million people will be infected with this disease.
This is where it's all headed with this Ebola propaganda.
This is a pre-sell.
This is a pre-sell for the big... This is very clear. Ebola will have 1.4 million people who will die, but maybe that's just a number that's not true.
In January, 1.4 million people. That is very scary.
That is scary, almost as scary as being beheaded.
Yeah, it's a shocking number. Like, I actually had to read it a couple of times when it came out to say, wait a minute, 1.4 million people? Now, they do say this is a worst case scenario.
Okay. Remember, John, 20 minutes of this and interviews with Médecins Sans Frontières, Je m'en fous. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez pas de quitter là? All this stuff, and going to Staten Island where there's Liberians who are trying to raise money. They only get $25 in their little Indiegogo. I'm not kidding. 20 minutes of this.
And it is an unlikely scenario.
And then it's so scary, but it's unlikely.
It is assuming that absolutely nothing is done in West Africa. And so it is a little unlikely because the United States government has already pledged hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, and now at the end of 20 minutes of this, they're saying, but you know.
It is sending troops to Liberia. The UN is talking about how they can send additional help. And the 1.4 million was calculated assuming that nothing whatsoever would be done.
But the 1.4 million number is making headlines. It's a shocking number, and maybe it's supposed to be shocking. It's essentially saying, hey, the telethon thing that you might get around to throwing next year if this keeps getting worse and worse and worse when things are terrible, you might want to try that now before it gets much worse.
Well, you know what that means.
What if
Although I think he's out of play now.
He's been taken down.
Yeah, he's been taken down. Yeah, I think you're right. He's been taken down. It has to be DiCaprio or something.
No, DiCaprio's the new go-to guy. Clooney dropped the ball somewhere. He probably objected to doing something he should have done. He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And they said, "Okay, well, you're screwed. Then you're going to marry this woman, and you're going to be you're done. You can do your number of movies is going down."
These things don't happen by accident. These 20-minute pieces on NPR on Planet Money. Planet Money?
It's bullcrap.
Yeah, well, yes, but I'm very disturbed by how it's being. And recall, the president, hey, if you got to...
Hopefully they get Tiesto.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, no, that's not great television. Tiesto is not great television. He's just he's just a nerd spinning records, which is probably coming from a USB stick. He's pre-mixed, and just walks off the plane. No, but that's okay. People, the way I'm not a raver, and I'm not really into this type of entertainment. But this type of music has been paired perfectly with the drug ecstasy or MDMA. Yes. And and it is an enhancement. And I think if you're a good DJ, you know exactly how to get everybody and get in the flow. And when the dealers are out in the audience, and then you bring everybody up and you bring everybody down. And there's an art to it, no doubt about it. And when this guy he does stadiums in South America. I mean, it's incredible what these guys do. It's incredible, I tell you.
I have one last thing, if you don't mind.
I do not mind.
I think this is an underreported story, and I think it's got legs. These legs are apparently belong to both brothers and sisters. This is the Incest is Coming clip.
Council thinks as it's pushing for an end to the criminalization of incest. It claims the current law violates people's basic freedoms. Here's Peter Oliver.
It's one of the most taboo subjects in the world, illegal in most countries, frowned on in almost every society. But a German government ethics committee has said that incest should be made legal in the country. Now, this follows a court case in which a brother and sister gave birth to 4 children. Now, the brother in that relationship has been sentenced to more than 3 years in prison, a sentence that's been upheld by the European Court of Human Rights. However, the Ethics Committee say that having laws against incest is an unacceptable intrusion into the right of sexual self-determination.
Woo! Sexual self-determination. That's a new one. They're going to push this through because there's just not enough inbreeding amongst the royals.
Point well taken. But this, of course, has to do with this equality and everybody being the same and not discriminating. I guess, if you're going to have LGBTQIAAP and everybody can marry anything and have relationships, why not? Isn't that a part of that?
No, it's logical.
That part, I don't know how logical it is.
It's very logical. And it's sexual self-determination. That's a big deal. Can you play just the beginning of this clip on How to Get Away with Murder, where she says the gay scene, and see if the word, and as soon as he uses the curse word, the F word, on network television, ABC, by the way.
Okay.
Tell me if that's what you hear too, because it also could be saying something else.
Makers Manhattan, 2 cherries. So your coworkers seem to want to show. So just say the word and we can start making out.
Ignore them. I don't talk to guys at bars that often.
So let me guess. You guys.
I didn't hear it.
He says, I don't fuck the guys at bars.
Let me play that back on.
I don't talk to guys at bars.
I think it says I don't talk to guys at bars.
Oh, okay. Doesn't sound like it to me.
No, it sounds like your brain is somewhere else. I would like to give everybody a little homework assignment before we get out of here. I would like you to read, and I have a copy in the show notes. It's a very short story by Kurt Vonnegut Jr., Harrison Bergeron. Are you familiar with this story, John?
No.
Wow. Of all people, I would have expected you to know this.
I have trouble reading Vonnegut. That's the only reason.
But it's so short, and I don't think I've ever read any Vonnegut ever in my life.
Yeah, I find him. It's just his structure is just. I just don't enjoy it.
Okay, then you.
But I'll read it. I can read it if it's short.
You can accompany me, and I can just give you a little bit, and you may understand where it's going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to accompany me?
I see what you're saying.
I need it. Yeah. The year was 2081, and everybody was finally equal. They weren't only equal before God and the law, they were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anybody else. Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. All this equality was due to the 211th, 212th, and 213th Amendments to the Constitution and to the unceasing vigilance of agents of the United States Handicapper General. Some things about living still weren't right, though. April, for instance, still drove people crazy by not being springtime. And it was in that clammy month that the HG men took George and Hazel Bergeron's 14-year-old son Harrison away. George, while his intelligence was way above normal, had a little mental handicap radio in his ear. He was required by law to wear it at all times. It was tuned to a government transmitter. Every 20 seconds or so, the transmitter would send out some sharp noise to keep people like George from taking unfair advantage of their brains. All right, that's enough. It's a very funny story where...
I'll read it. It sounds good.
Yeah, this is where we're all headed. So, to make everybody equal, if you're too smart, you have a little transmitter which blasts something in your ear, so you're distracted.
Yeah, you can answer the questions.
If you're too good looking, then you have to wear a mask.
You get punched in the nose.
And if you're
or you get photoshopped.
And if you're too fast, too athletic, then you have to wear weight belts. It's a good story, and I think people...
Totally fair.
It's totally fair, and I think people should... oops, that's the wrong one. I think people should...
have one last thing, then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You brought us up. This is the scariest story of the day. Scariest story of the day. This should frighten everybody. This is the Lada in the news story.
After Vaz President Bo Anderson announced that the sports version of the Lada Vesta, first unveiled at the Moscow International Automobile Salon last month, will go on sale to the public soon. The car, which packs 500 horses under the bonnet, will take part in the World Touring Car Championship next year, piloted by British drivers Rob Huff and James Thompson.
A Lada with 500 horsepower.
I think the chassis would separate from the body.
This is dangerous.
That's not good.
Scary.
Good one.
All right.
Good. All right, everybody.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. You're not doing Twit today, are you?
No.
All right, good. Good. Miss Mickey coming back Thursday, but that'll be after the show. I'm very happy about that. My estranged wife.
Yes, well, I'm glad you two are getting back together.
Well, that's another cover. You should report the story, and you could do a whole Photoshop.
I could be made lots of money off it.
We've talked about this. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, you don't seem to ever really.
You
need to get on the stick,
I can't
man.
see exploiting my friend.
You love it.
Of course, we could split the proceeds.
That would be bad, I think.
So.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for being with us. Remember to support us at Dvorak.org/NA. We do need the support to continue. It's extremely important. I hope you found some value. Give us some value in return. Coming to you from FEMA Region 6 here in the capital of the Drone Star State in the morning. I'm Adam Curry.
And from FEMA I forgot my FEMA region. I think it's 9. Yeah. Yeah, well, coming from FEMA Region 9, also known as Northern Silicon Valley and the Greater West, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Check us out again Thursday right here on No Agenda.
It's just a good name, just a good name, just a good name.
Are you going to believe me or your lying eyes?
I'm talking about ruralization, making way for the kid nation. I'm talking about ruralization.
We are here, #America, near our hashtag target. Soon.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, and the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA